Chapter 150. Hearing this, Li Xiaowei's expression changed greatly. Total annihilation? Qing Yu and Wang Li, who were chasing after you, have all? At that moment, Li Xiaowei saw something bulging in Su Yu's chest. It was the outline of the token. At that moment, his mind rumbled. They were actually all killed by this kid. Shock and anger transformed into a bellyful of flames that burned his chest as if it was about to explode. Their team had actually been wiped out. The enemy was neither a 5th-level Holy King nor a 4th-level Holy King, but a 3rd-level Holy King. You are unforgivable. Li Xiaowei's eyes were bloodshot. His palm strike suddenly became several times fiercer. The frightening power was about to turn Su Yu into ashes. However, Su Yu was not afraid. With a calm expression, he calmly extended a finger. Those who kill will be killed by others. You shall die together with them. Su Yu was calm and confident. A magnificent flame gradually gathered at the tip of his finger. The flames burned quietly without any heat, neither cold nor hot, but they carried an indescribably terrifying destructive force. Li Xiaowei's expression stiffened. The flames on his fingertips actually gave him a feeling of fear and trepidation. Not good. Li Xiaowei had a lot of battle experience. Sensing that something was amiss, he made a prompt decision. He spread the wings on his back, and when he was about to collide with Su Yu, he soared into the sky and widened the distance between them. His eyes were filled with deep fear as he stared at the flames on his fingertips. His heart was in turmoil. What kind of move is that? Why is it so terrifying? Why do I feel like I will perish if I touch it? Then, thinking about how this young man was able to kill 3 of his subordinates when he was only a 3rd-level Holy King, a feeling of unfathomability welled up in his heart. His intuition told him that this kid wasn't an ordinary person, and he couldn't fight him. Junior. Lucien faction's Su Yu, I will remember this. The Empire of Darkness will find you one day. Get ready. Whoosh! After saying this, Li Xiaowei actually fled for his life. Su Yu hesitated for a moment as he stared at the back of his opponent, who was running away. In the end, he gave up. Firstly, in terms of speed, he was no match for a 5th-level Holy King, and it would be difficult for him to catch up. Secondly, he was running out of time. There were only 3 days left until the registration deadline for the ancient Xianyun Temple. You ran fast. Su Yu was not satisfied. The magnificent raging flame on his fingertips slowly extinguished. However, killing a snow lion wasn't a complete waste of time. Since they were both 5th-level Holy Kings, this snow lion could naturally be exchanged for 100 honor points. In addition to the 3 people he had killed earlier, he could redeem a total of 135 honor points. Grabbing the severed head of the snow lion, Su Yu flew back to the faction. In these 3 days, they only rested and ate for a short period of time. The rest of the time, they hurried on with their journey. If she delayed the registration, she would not be able to enter the ancient Xianyun Temple, and Xian'er's situation would be extremely worrying. Xian'er, wait for me. His mind was filled with longing for Xian'er's beautiful figure, and he focused on rushing forward. Finally, 3 days later, outside the sect, a group of patrolling outer sanctum disciples was dumbfounded. A frail young man with tattered clothes and pale hair was carrying a terrifying head the size of a house on his head. The blood on the head had dried up, but there was still a ferocious aura that made people tremble. Bang! When he descended from the sky, it was like an earthquake, and the earth trembled slightly. Su! It's senior brother Su Yu. The patrolling outer sanctum disciple finally recognized Su Yu. That unique silver hair was Su Yu's trademark. Senior brother Su is back. The patrolling outer sanctum disciple cheered in awe, joyfully welcoming him. The legendary figure of the outer sanctum, Su Yu, had returned, and he had even brought back the corpse of a terrifying demonic beast. Where is the 3rd elder? Su Yu asked hurriedly. After handing over the mission, he wanted to immediately register. After 3 days and 3 nights of traveling, his spirit energy had been depleted, and he was exhausted, but he still managed to rush back. Today was the last day of registration, and Su Yu was not late. At the Golden Bell Hall, gathering the inner sanctum disciples to issue an urgent mission. Golden Bell Hall? Su Yu nodded slightly, and with the giant head on his back, he left in a flash. The spacious hall of the Golden Bell was the same as it was a month ago. The third elder once again rang the bell, issuing an urgent mission. In front of the bell, Song Qingshan was covered in blood, and he had suffered many injuries. He had luckily escaped from Li Xiaowei, and his injuries were not light. He had recovered his strength while escaping, and thus had just returned. The third elder immediately gathered the inner sanctum disciples, preparing to issue a new mission. At this moment, Song Qingshan was like a hero who had returned. He was the center of attention, recounting his experiences in front of hundreds of inner sanctum disciples. Fellow brothers and sisters, I am useless. I am the only one who survived. The rest of my juniors have all died. Song Qingshan's face was filled with sorrow. It is my fault, and I am willing to accept punishment. The inner sanctum disciples sighed in their hearts. Such an outcome was already within their expectations. The group of 6 was just sending themselves to their death. To be able to escape back to Song Qingshan and bring back concrete information about the murderer was already something to be thankful about. In the gloomy atmosphere, Song Qingshan narrated sorrowfully. My juniors and I encountered the murderer. The strongest among them were 2 5th-level lower-tier holy kings, 1 human and 1 demon. There was also a 4th-level lower-tier, upper-tier, and peak-tier holy king. We were caught off guard, and they attacked us. The rest of us all died in battle, and only I survived. 2 5th-level holy kings? Indeed. Everyone's hearts trembled. No wonder the team that was previously escorting the treasure was completely annihilated. There were 2 5th-level holy kings. The third elder's heart gradually calmed down. After understanding the enemy's overall strength, it was worth it to sacrifice so much. Lightly patting Song Qingshan's shoulder, the third elder's face was filled with sorrow. He consoled him. You have done your best, there is no need to be sad. This time, you have successfully investigated the enemy's strength and contributed greatly to our success in killing them all. Even though you did not kill a single one of them, my promise has not changed. The person who contributed the most will be able to enter the depository of scriptures once. Hearing this, the eyes of the inner sanctum disciples turned red with jealousy. Song Qingshan's face was filled with sorrow, but his heart was filled with joy. Such a wonderful thing had actually happened to him. But at this moment, in an inconspicuous corner of the crowd, a cold voice came. How did Su Yu die? The crowd looked over. Their eyes were filled with amazement, and many of them were filled with admiration. A graceful and beautiful lady with a curvaceous body stood alone in the corner. She had a classical and elegant face, like a lady from a Jiangnan painting, elegant and beautiful. In particular, that cold aura that repelled people 1,000 miles away made people want to conquer her. This person was one of the 4 great core disciples, Mo Wu. The number 1 beauty of the inner sanctum. Known as the Ice Beauty, she was the goal of countless disciples. Song Qingshan's heart skipped a beat. He knew better than anyone how Su Yu died. It was because he shifted the blame to lessen the pressure on Su Yu that he managed to escape. As for Su Yu's safety, there was no doubt that anyone below 5th-level Holy King would die. However, along the way, Song Qingshan had already prepared an excuse. With a face full of sorrow, he said, Senior sister, in order to cover for us, junior brother Su took the initiative to lead the enemy to escape. His whereabouts are unknown. The last thing I saw was him being chased by a 5th-level Holy King Snow Lion. Being chased by a 5th-level Holy King Snow Lion? The crowd was shocked and secretly felt pity for him. Mo Wu was stunned for a long time. After a while, she let out a low sigh. She felt a sense of relief, but also a sense of loss. Her master's extra care for Suyu had caused her, who had enjoyed being pampered for many years, to feel a sense of crisis. But for some reason, thinking about Suyu's undying will at the Fallen Star contest and his unrepentant death at the wedding, she felt as if she had lost something. In the future, she would probably never see that stubborn and unyielding figure again. If her master knew of his death, would she be sad for him? Feeling sad, Mo Wu lowered her head and left expressionlessly. The third elder sighed in his heart. Had the young man who had volunteered himself also perished? If he had known this would happen, why did he agree to enlist him? Restraining his emotions, the third elder's face was filled with grief and indignation. Killing my Lucien faction's disciples twice is unforgivable. Who would like to sign up for this urgent mission? The mission requirement is that you have to be at least a 5th level lower tier Holy King. With the specific number of people, abilities, and range of activity, it would be easier to capture and kill them. In an instant, the high-level Holy King disciples, who had been waiting for a long time, responded. The most dangerous part of exploring the path had been completed. They only needed to sit back and enjoy the fruits of their labor. The excited crowd was carrying the corpses that had already perished and would forever be left in the cold Wulong snowfield. But at this moment, an indifferent voice came from outside the door. Cancel the mission, there is no longer a need to execute it. The excited crowd instantly became silent. Someone actually dared to defy the faction's mission and spout nonsense here? But what really made them silent was the figure standing at the door with his hands clasped behind his back. Mo Wu walked with her head lowered. Just as she reached the door, she was caught off guard as a figure descended from the sky and plunged into his embrace. The wide and warm chest and the familiar scent of a man caused Mo Wu, who had been in a daze, to suddenly wake up. She looked up and her beautiful eyes widened. Suyu. Immediately, it was unknown whether she was happy or angry. If you are not dead, you should have shown yourself earlier. At the same time that her heart once again felt threatened, she felt inexplicably relaxed. Suyu's face turned slightly red. He was in a hurry and did not pay attention to the situation in the hall. As such, he had descended in a hurry and did not expect Mo Wu to fall into his embrace. Her soft and wonderful body carried a delicate fragrance into his nose, especially the pair of full and mature breasts that pressed against Suyu's chest. The elastic, soft, and warm sensation was enchanting. Even though she was cold, her fragrant body was extraordinary. Mo Wu's face turned slightly red, as if she had felt the difference from their intimate contact. She glared fiercely at Suyu and left with a cold expression. You are not dead? Song Qingshan looked as if he had seen a ghost. Being chased by 2 5th-level Holy Kings, he actually did not die. Song Qingshan's heart skipped a beat, feeling extremely guilty. Haha. Thanks to senior brother Song, I was lucky enough to keep my life. Suyu stepped inside and shot a cold glare at him. The third elder and many inner sanctum disciples were shocked. Many 4th-level peak Holy Kings had fallen, but Suyu, a mere 3rd-level Holy King, had returned alive. Heavens! He actually broke through to 4th-level Holy King from 3rd-level lower-tier Holy King. Someone with sharp eyes immediately noticed the change in Suyu's aura. Not only did he not die, but he also obtained a great opportunity. This is unbelievable. The third elder was stunned for a moment. His heart slightly relaxed and he smiled. It's good that he came back alive. After a moment of silence, the third elder said, Both of you brought back specific information about the enemy for the faction, your contributions are equal. But considering that Song Qingshan was the leader, the descending into the depository of scriptures will be obtained by him, your contribution can be exchanged for 10 points of honor. How lucky, not only did he escape with his life, he can also obtain 10 points of honor. If I had his luck, I would have joined the team long ago. TSK. Escaping like a stray dog, what is there to be envious about? A 5th level upper tier Holy King sneered. He only used the blood of his dead brothers to gain the sympathy of the faction and some rewards. We are the true heroes who exterminated the murderers. Hearing this, many people secretly nodded. If not for the fact that they had narrowly escaped death, why would the faction reward them? Rather than saying it was a reward, it was more like charity to appease them. In terms of killing the enemy and avenging their dead brothers, they still had to rely on them. No need. Suyu walked over with his hands clasped behind his back. He was actually contradicted in front of everyone? The third elder was a little embarrassed, his heart filled with anger. Why? He asked expressionlessly. Because the credit that belongs to me, Suyu, is not something that can be shared by just anyone. Suyu reached deep into his robes and took out 3 tokens, slamming them onto the table. Everyone looked over, their pupils dilating. Chapter 151. The tokens were black in color and engraved with different names. Are these the tokens they carried with them? After a long while, a disciple finally spoke with uncertainty. Firstly, Song Qingshan had yet to reveal the true identity of the killers, so the tokens were suspicious. Secondly, was it possible for Suyu to kill 3 people alone? Whoosh, however, the third elder's figure flickered. With a wave of his sleeves, he took all 3 tokens into his sleeve. His face was solemn and the depths of his eyes were filled with fear. The 3 people you killed, what were their appearances and abilities like? The third elder had naturally heard Song Qingshan's account of the situation and wanted to verify it. Suyu calmly said, a beautiful lady at 4th level lower tier Holy King, a prodigy of souls at 4th level upper tier Holy King, and the black-robed Wang Li who was a 4th level peak Holy King. The fear in the third elder's eyes gradually faded as he nodded slightly. These are indeed the 3 killers. Suyu killed 3 of them alone, the merit is great. The reward for entering the depository of scriptures should indeed belong to him. These words caused an uproar. How is that possible? Looking at his aura, he should have just broken through to 4th level lower tier Holy King not long ago. How could he kill 3 people in a row? Someone questioned. Third elder, this is absolutely impossible. Just based on his words and 3 baffling tokens, how can you determine that the merit belongs to him? The 5th level upper tier Holy King was indignant. If Suyu really killed all the killers alone, how could they have the chance to snatch the merit? The third elder secretly touched the 3 tokens in his sleeves, his heart trembling. It was the Empire of Darkness. Hearing this, his old eyes slightly narrowed. Are you doubting my judgment? With that, the group of powerful fighters fell silent. But deep down, they were all indignant. Then, where are the remaining 2 5th level lower tier Holy Kings? The third elder asked. The 2 of them had not been apprehended yet, so the mission had to continue. Li Xiaowei escaped, Suyu replied truthfully. Escaped? Several 5th level Holy Kings could not help but mock. So you are so strong, you could even scare off a 5th level Holy King. Suyu calmly glanced at them, not bothering to explain. The third elder understood the hidden meaning. Li Xiaowei escaped, but where is the 5th level Holy King demonic beast? Where are you hiding? Even if there was only one 5th level Holy King left, they had to capture and kill him to give the faction an explanation. Upon hearing this, all the 5th level Holy Kings were slightly shaken. Even if there was only one 5th level Holy King demonic beast left, it would still be worth it for them to make a move. A full 100 honor points could be exchanged for a legendary high-grade marrow cleansing elixir. Even in the great sects, there weren't many such pills. Even core disciples might not be able to use them as they pleased. They had to fight for honor points to exchange for them. However, Suyu calmly uttered a sentence that caused everyone to stiffen. Just outside, the spacious hall suddenly became deathly silent. Even the third elder was stunned. Outside, what did this mean? Filled with doubts, the crowd walked to the entrance and saw a gigantic head the size of a small house lying outside the hall, dripping with blood. Song Qingshan sucked in a breath of cold air. That snow lion that can spit out ice. It was actually killed. At that moment, the way everyone looked at Su Yu had changed. Not only could Su Yu scare away a 5th-level Holy King, but he could also kill a 5th-level Holy King? Not just the ordinary disciples, even the 3rd elder was deeply shocked. The 3 tokens might not be able to prove anything, but the bloody heads of the demonic beasts were irrefutable evidence. Su Yu deserves the right to enter the depository of scriptures. Furthermore, according to the rules, the 135 honor points can be exchanged for elixirs. The crowd's expressions were ugly, either jealous or secretly hateful. They had originally thought that the 6-man group was just a scout. Who knew that Su Yu, whom no one had taken seriously, would appear? In the end, the murderers were almost completely annihilated by him. All the credit was taken by Su Yu alone. The opportunity to read legacy-level cultivation techniques at the depository of scriptures was a rare opportunity. There was also the legendary high-grade marrow cleansing elixir, which was said to have an unimaginable effect on cultivation-based breakthroughs. Many of them were filled with regret. They should have joined the 6-man group back then. Song Qingshan's expression was uncertain. He had escaped death, and the right to enter the depository of scriptures that should have belonged to him had been easily taken by Su Yu. Elder, I can't accept this. Song Qingshan clenched his fists in dissatisfaction. The 3rd elder looked over indifferently. What do you have to accept? Su Yu clearly had the help of an expert in secret. This is not fair. Song Qingshan replied firmly. Many 5th-level holy kings secretly nodded. Not only Song Qingshan, but they also had their doubts. Su Yu killing 3 4th-level holy kings was still acceptable. After all, Su Yu had a record of defeating Chao Xian. But a 5th-level holy king was too absurd. Not only did Su Yu escape from a 5th-level holy king, he had also killed him and chased away another 5th-level holy king. This was unbelievable. The only possibility was that someone was secretly helping Su Yu. As for who it was, the crowd was clear as a mirror. Other than the 2nd elder, who was biased towards Su Yu, who else could it be? You want me to retract my orders based on speculation without any evidence? The 3rd elder's expression turned cold as he lightly shouted. Although he had also guessed that Su Yu had the help of the 2nd elder. But this matter concerned the 2nd elder. He naturally had to smooth things over. The crowd's hearts trembled, and they all fell silent. But like Song Qingshan, their gazes towards Su Yu were filled with hostility, jealousy, and contempt. After the 3rd elder had left, the crowd finally erupted. Song Qingshan's heart was burning with jealousy, and he took the opportunity to make things difficult for Su Yu. Su Yu, since you had the help of an expert, why did you sit back and watch your seniors die in vain? Su Yu slightly creased his brows. I was alone, with no one to help me. Su Yu, Song Qingshan sternly shouted, opening his mouth to reprimand. I know that the seniors in the team had indeed looked down on you, and that was why their words were offensive. But you could have saved them, why did you watch them die? So there was such a thing, how narrow-minded. A 5th-level Holy King's face was filled with disgust. I really feel sorry for the seniors who died. Let's go. This kind of person who has no ties with the same faction, I'm afraid one day I will be killed by him. Another 5th-level Holy King lightly snorted. Go, go, go. Ignore him, let him enjoy the merits exchanged with the blood of his seniors. Yes, I have just returned to the faction, and I have to immediately register for the Xianyan contest. Otherwise, I will not be qualified to compete in 2 months. Whoosh, groups of people passed by Su Yu with cold and disdainful expressions. He was clearly a hero who had avenged the deaths of his seniors, but at this moment, he was being ostracized and neglected by the crowd. Standing among the crowd, Su Yu did not explain. He had monopolized all the benefits, attracting the jealousy of others. That was the source of his slander and neglect. This was human nature, and Su Yu did not bother to argue. After the mission handover, Su Yu was left with the most important thing, registration. Today was the last day and he could still make it. Along the way to the External Affairs Division, he could occasionally catch a glimpse of disciples hurrying back from outside the faction. Many of them were like Su Yu, carrying out a mission outside and rushing back. When Su Yu arrived, there were already many disciples present. For example, Song Qingshan and a few fifth-level holy kings who had reprimanded him were among them. It was early in the morning, and the External Affairs Division had just opened. Shi Rulan and Qin Gang walked out, calmly glancing at the surrounding crowd, slightly frowning. Is something the matter? Shi Rulan's gaze was calm. When her gaze swept past Su Yu, her pupils slightly shrank, but she quickly acted as if nothing had happened. Song Qingshan was respectful and courteous. Clan Master Shi, we are all disciples here to register for the Xianyun contest. We hope that Clan Master Shi can make things convenient for us. That day, the urgent mission had come in a hurry, and Song Qingshan had not registered. The rest of the disciples had left the faction a month ago, and had missed the opportunity. Registration? Qin Gang raised his eyebrows. Did you not receive an announcement from the faction? Everyone's expressions changed. What announcement? A bad feeling welled up in their hearts. Deputy Clan Master Qin, we were carrying out a mission outside, and have only just returned today. We really do not know what announcement the faction has made, Song Qingshan said solemnly. Qin Gang's expression changed, and he turned back to exchange a look with Shi Rulan. He then announced with slight regret, "You came back late. 3 days ago, the quota for registration had reached 300 people. The quota has been filled, and the registration ended 3 days ago." Looking at the few fifth-level holy kings in the crowd, Qin Gang secretly felt pity. These words caused a huge uproar, and the crowd was in an uproar. There were 30 of them, and their abilities were all above fourth-level holy kings. They had finally returned from carrying out a mission, only to receive the news that the quota had been filled? What kind of joke is this? I have waited for 3 whole years for the ancient Xianyun temple, and now the quota has been filled? A youth who was over 20 years old could not accept the sudden reality before his eyes. Yes. Why? The registration for the previous contest was based on the deadline. Why is it suddenly changed to the quota being filled, and the deadline has been brought forward? Another fifth-level holy king suppressed his anger, trying his best to calm himself down. Song Qingshan's eyes lost focus, and he said in a daze, How? How is this possible? I have lost the right to register? Thud, thud, Su Yu staggered 2 steps back. The sudden announcement had cut off all his hopes. This was the only shortcut to save Xianyun. If he had lost the chance to register, how could he enter the ancient Xianyun temple, and how could he find the phoenix blood elixir to save Xianyun? He had accepted the mission, even though he knew it was a suicide mission, in order to break through to 4th-level Holy King and fulfill the registration requirements. The ridiculous and laughable thing was that he had painstakingly raised his cultivation base to 4th-level Holy King, and rushed back at the last moment, only to be rejected by the cruel fact that the quota had been filled. Could it be that he really had to give Xianyun to Chao Xian? Seeing that the commotion was getting bigger, Qin Gang was gradually losing control. The disciples who could carry out missions outside the faction for a long time were all 4th-level Holy Kings and above, and there were many who were stronger than Qin Gang. There was even a 5th-level Holy King among them. With such a large group of people, if they were to fight, how could he control the situation? He cast a pleading look at Shi Rulan. Shi Rulan pretended to be thinking, and the crowd focused their expectant gazes on her, their hearts in their throats. If they missed the ancient Xianyun temple that was held once every 5 years, they would not have another chance. But Shi Rulin quickly gave a reply, heartless and indifferent, "No. The decision of the faction cannot be changed. The registration has ended, please leave." Seeing that the crowd was still going to cause trouble, Shi Rulin's gaze turned cold, and she raised her palm, making a slash in the air. Crash, in the courtyard, a huge tree that was as thick as a human was broken. The remaining cold spiritual energy was like a blade scraping across the faces of the crowd, painful and cold. "The faction's orders, anyone who disobeys will be beheaded." Shi Rulin's tone was calm, but it could not hide her cold, murderous intent. The crowd was shocked, no longer daring to cause trouble. But they could not hide their suppressed grief and indignation. This matter was too unfair. They had just happened to be carrying out a mission outside, yet they missed it. "Retreat immediately. Whoever dares to cause trouble will be beheaded," Shi Rulin coldly commanded. Just as the crowd was about to leave, a person flew out from the inner sanctum. It was none other than Wu Qingzhou. He was the only survivor of the treasure escorting team at the Abyss of Wudong. After recuperating for a month, his injuries had mostly recovered. "Clan Master Shi, may I ask if the junior who killed the snow lion came here?" Wu Qingzhou's face was anxious. He had chased them all the way from the Golden Bell Hall. Shi Rulin was slightly startled, not understanding his meaning. But Song Qingshan and the rest all looked at Su Yu, who was behind the crowd. Wu Qingzhou followed their gaze, his face filled with gratitude as he flew over, cupping his fists and smiling. "You are Junior Su Yu?" Su Yu nodded absent-mindedly. "Yes. Thank you, Junior Su, for avenging my brother. He was buried in the mouth of that ferocious snow lion." Wu Qingzhou kowtowed in worship. Su Yu helped him up, listlessly smiling. "I did it in passing, you don't have to thank me." Seeing that Su Yu's emotions were not right, he looked around and saw that the emotions of the 30 people had changed. He could not help but be curious. Chapter 152. What? There was another way to go? Su Yu's dazed eyes suddenly exploded with a dazzling light. "Senior Wu, please say it." Not only Su Yu, but the other 29 people also looked pleasantly surprised and gathered around him. Wu Qingzhou was frightened by Su Yu's gaze and sighed softly after a while. "There is indeed a way to go, but Junior Su, be mentally prepared. You may not be fated with it." Su Yu's eyes burned with an inextinguishable light of hope. "Senior, please say it." The faction has 2 parts of the quota for the Xianyan contest. The first part is reserved for the disciples of the faction, which are the 300 quotas that you are familiar with. The other part is reserved for disciples who are out on missions all year round. For example, the Abyss of Wudong. There are 100 faction disciples stationed there all year round to help the faction dig for treasures. They are busy with missions and cannot rush back to the faction in time to register. Therefore, the faction has allocated 10 extra quotas to the disciples of the Abyss of Wudong. Those 10 quotas have not been decided yet. The Abyss of Wudong was an ancient relic discovered by the Lucian faction. There were some complete remnants and shocking treasures were often found there. Many of the faction's techniques came from the Abyss of Wudong. In order to excavate there, the faction had sent over 100 disciples many years ago to continue excavating. Due to the large number, 10 extra quotas were naturally allocated. But those quotas were prepared for the seniors of the Abyss of Wudong. How could I take them? Su Yu was puzzled. Wu Qingzhou looked slightly sad. If it was in the past, it would naturally not be allocated to Junior Su, but a month ago, when escorting the treasures back, several seniors fell. The Abyss of Wudong needs fresh blood and is currently selecting new disciples from the faction. A month ago, Wu Qingzhou and the others were attacked. That was why Su Yu accepted the mission to head to the Wulong snowfield to kill the culprit. The Abyss of Wudong had lost members and naturally had to reselect disciples from the faction to make up for the lack of manpower. If Junior Su Yu can be selected and become a member of the Abyss of Wudong, you will be eligible to compete for the top 10 quotas, Wu Qingzhou explained. Not only Su Yu, but the other 29 people were also jealous. However, what Wu Qingzhou said next made everyone feel like they had fallen into an ice cellar. However, junior brother Su, I hope you are mentally prepared. This selection might not be with you. For this selection, 4 members have already been decided internally. They are all disciples of the sect elders. You should be able to understand this point. They want to gain experience in the abyss of Wudong for 2 months in preparation for the Xianyun contest. Therefore, there is only one quota left for you, Wu Qingzhou said. The abyss of Wudong was an ancient ruin. It was rumored that it was rich in spiritual energy and was extremely good for cultivation. Moreover, it was responsible for excavating the sect's treasures. If they found something of astonishing value, they would receive an extremely generous reward. It was rumored that there was a disciple who successfully broke through to the Dragon Realm in 2 months. This was the place that the disciples of the sect yearned for. Unfortunately, most of them were controlled by the disciples or relatives of influential figures in the sect. It was difficult for ordinary disciples to get involved. There are too many people vying for the last spot. 5th-level Holy Kings are everywhere, and even 6th-level Holy Kings are participating in the fight. 6th-level Holy King? These 4 words were like a bucket of cold water, freezing their boiling hearts in an instant. Are you kidding me? With a 6th-level Holy King around, what right do we have to fight for it? Song Qingshan's face flushed red, feeling as though he had been played. Wu Qingzhou glanced at him. I'm informing junior brother Su. What does it have to do with you? Song Qingshan was furious, but his heart was filled with despair. That was a 6th-level Holy King. How could they fight over such a powerful being? Su Yu's heart trembled violently. A 6th-level Holy King, an unimaginably frightening level. Did he have to fight with such a strong opponent for the last spot? It was no wonder that Wu Qingzhou had said so bluntly that he might not be fated with Su Yu. This was not just a possibility, it was almost certain that he was not fated with Su Yu. However, the most despairing person in the world wasn't having little hope, it was having no hope at all. If Su Yu was given a little hope, he could create a miracle. It was like that in the past, and it was still like that now. Senior Marshal Brother Wu, please guide me. I want to participate in the assessment. The last spot belongs to me, Su Yu. Su Yu's gaze was resolute and calm. He was not afraid at all. No matter how big the storm was, he had overcome it. Why would he be afraid of a test? Wu Qingzhou was stunned for a moment. The determination in Su Yu's eyes pierced deeply into his soul. How strong must one's heart be to have such a resolute gaze? All right. I'll sign you up. The assessment will begin tomorrow. I hope you'll be prepared, Wu Qingzhou said and left. Song Qingshan gritted his teeth. Even someone at Su Yu's level can participate, so why should I be afraid? Me too. This time, without the secret help of an expert, I wonder if some people can still amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. Me too. Even if we can't get a spot, we have to beat some people back to their original state. When several pairs of eyes glanced at Su Yu, flames of jealousy still lingered in them. Su Yu's expression was calm and he clenched his fists. The final quota for the abyss of Wudong would definitely belong to him. After a while, Su Yu left in a flash. Tomorrow was the day of the challenge. He had to do everything he could to improve his strength. The best shortcut right now was to swallow the marrow cleansing pill. Especially the high-grade marrow cleansing pill. The energy contained in this pill was more than 100 middle-grade marrow cleansing pills. It was extremely difficult to refine, and the sect only had a few of them. In fact, in the sect, apart from the core disciples, no one had ever seen it before. Its specific effects were also a legend. If he could get his hands on this elixir, would Su Yu's cultivation level improve by leaps and bounds? Filled with hope, Su Yu rushed to the faction's Hall of Honor. The person in charge was an elder of 5th-level peak Holy King. I want to exchange for the marrow cleansing pill, a total of 135 honor points. I want to exchange for 1 high-grade marrow cleansing pill and 35 middle-grade marrow cleansing pills. Su Yu said his name. The elder checked, and Su Yu's name indeed had 135 honor points. After confirming, the elder took out 35 middle-grade marrow cleansing pills and deducted 35 honor points from Su Yu's name. Take it. From the beginning to the end, the elder's expression did not change. Su Yu raised his eyebrows. I also want to exchange for a high-grade marrow cleansing pill. That elixir was the most important. Unexpectedly, the elder calmly said, How precious is a high-grade marrow cleansing pill? How could it be casually stored here? You need to ask the faction master to obtain it. Come back in 2 days to exchange for it. 2 days later? Su Yu's heart suddenly sank. Tomorrow was the assessment. What was the point of competing with a 6th-level Holy King 2 days later? But there were the rules of the faction. What could he do? Su Yu cupped his fists and left. Not long after he left, the old man's expression suddenly changed. He bowed respectfully towards the darkness behind him and said, Fourth Elder, I've followed your orders and temporarily stopped him. However, he has Second Elder's protection. I'm afraid I won't be able to delay him any longer in 2 days. In the darkness, the Fourth Elder sighed. If not for the urgent need for a high-grade marrow cleansing pill, I would not have schemed against a junior's elixir. You do not have to worry about the rest. I will discuss it with him in 2 days. The elder respectfully acknowledged. The Fourth Elder urgently needed a high-grade marrow cleansing pill, and he did not know its use. It was extremely mysterious and did not want others to know. Hence, it was inconvenient for him to discuss it with the other elders. He could only act in secret and search for a high-grade marrow cleansing pill. Coincidentally, the only person who had the right to exchange for a high-grade marrow cleansing pill was Su Yu. For this reason, the Fourth Elder secretly instructed the elder to temporarily stop Su Yu with an excuse. The Fourth Elder would take the opportunity to converse with Su Yu and promise him some benefits in exchange for a high-grade marrow cleansing pill. In reality, the elder knew that if Su Yu did not have the backing of the Second Elder, the Fourth Elder's methods would not be so gentle. The saying, "A man is innocent, but treasuring a jade ring makes him guilty," could be applied anywhere. Su Yu did not know that he had entered the Fourth Elder's line of sight. Returning to the courtyard of the Second Elder, Su Yu rubbed the big bottle of marrow cleansing pill in his palm, preparing to crazily consume it tonight. Who knew that when he returned to the courtyard, Mo Wu was sitting alone in the courtyard. Her petite and delicate body outlined a beautiful arc in the hazy moonlight. Her classic jade-like face was exquisite and beautiful. Under the faint moonlight, it was as if a light veil was covering her face, making her look even more alluring. Only her eyes were dry and emotionless, giving off a cold feeling. "You want to participate in the assessment at the Abyss of Wudong?" Sensing that Su Yu had returned, Mo Wu turned her head and asked coldly. "Why not?" Su Yu asked indifferently. Mo Wu stared at Su Yu and said calmly, "You give up immediately." "Why?" Su Yu raised his eyebrows, his eyes were cold. If Su Yu gave up, who would save Xian'er? "Because you cannot pass the assessment. Don't waste your time and energy. The difficulty of the assessment is higher than you think." Mo Wu's eyes were cold. "If you are just trying to persuade me to give up, then you have said what you wanted to say. I will not accompany you anymore," Su Yu said indifferently and stepped into the house. Mo Wu's jade-like face was cold. She casually pointed and a piece of paper flew toward Su Yu's back. Feeling a gust of wind, Su Yu turned around and grabbed it. Looking at it, it was a list. A list of participants for the assessment? Su Yu was surprised. He hurriedly glanced at it. Not only was there a list of competitors from the Abyss of Wudong, there was also their corresponding cultivation base, commonly used techniques, and other detailed and clear descriptions. Knowing oneself and knowing one's enemy was the key to victory in 100 battles. Such precious information was precious to Suyu. Suyu was slightly moved. Emowu naturally did not need this information. She stayed in the faction all year round and was very clear about the abilities of her opponents. This was prepared for Suyu. It was Emowu, prepared for Suyu. Looking up, Emowu had already returned to her room, only leaving Suyu with a lonely and beautiful back view. Feeling grateful, Suyu bowed to her back. Although Emowu was cold, her heart was warm. She was a person with a cold face but a warm heart. On a certain level, she was similar to the second elder. This pair of teacher and disciple was indeed interesting. Returning to his room, Suyu immediately memorized the list and information. A total of 100 people had registered. However, the lowest cultivation base was a 4th-level peak Holy King. There were many 5th-level Holy Kings and 30 lower-tier Holy Kings. There were 10 upper-tier Holy Kings. There were 2 peak-tier Holy Kings. The most ridiculous thing was that there was actually a 6th-level Holy King who had registered. This 6th-level Holy King was a strong martial artist ranked 30th in the faction. With his abilities, he rarely met a worthy opponent in the faction. Now, he actually wanted to compete with him for the same spot. A heavy pressure made it difficult for Suyu to breathe. Such a competition was so intense that it made one's hair stand on end. Chapter 153. Suyu felt immense pressure as he memorized the name list. Taking a deep breath, Zhang Xian took out a large bottle of blue middle-grade marrow cleansing pills. A total of 35. Would he be able to break through successfully? With anticipation, Suyu swallowed a medium-grade marrow cleansing elixir. The powerful medicinal power spread through his limbs and bones as usual. However, his cultivation did not improve as he had imagined. Filled with doubts, Suyu swallowed 4 pills consecutively, but the results were the same. After the powerful medicinal energy entered his body, it immediately settled in his bloodline, not advancing his cultivation. What's going on? Suyu opened his eyes, which were filled with bewilderment. Why are the elixirs no longer effective on me? Filled with unwillingness, Suyu swallowed 10 pills consecutively, but there was still no reaction. Finally, after swallowing all the pills, the medicinal energy still settled into his blood vessels. Suyu's expression was slightly unsightly, and after observing his body for a long time, he couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Could it be that the hidden danger left behind from that time caused my body to become immune to the medicinal power? The drawbacks of swallowing the Inferno Lion's heavenly treasures had finally appeared. Those were spirit treasures that had never been purified, and the energy they contained was too strong. His body had adapted to the violent energy. Now, his body was actually immune to the gentle energy of the pill. Although he only needed to wait for a period of time, his body would return to normal. However, tomorrow was the assessment of the Abyss of Wudong. It was urgent for him to raise his cultivation level. Filled with helplessness and bitterness, Suyu gave up on training and focused on comprehending his cultivation technique until dawn. The artifact control technique was only a remnant of stage 1 lower class, but there were already signs of it being comprehended successfully. During the 3-day journey, Suyu made use of his time to comprehend it. After a night of meditation, the conditions were finally ripe, and he had successfully cultivated the only small accomplishment. He could finally unleash the power of the divine ice ring. Suyu was looking forward to the specific power of the divine artifact. However, what made Suyu feel helpless was that he had only scratched the surface of the remnant of the immortal level cultivation technique, which contained more than 100 words. It would still take him some time to comprehend all of them. Dong dong, there was a knock on the door. It was Mo. Without waiting for Suyu to open the door, she left behind some cold words and left. Abyss of Wudong Assessment, Inner Sanctum Martial Arts Competition Room. Inner Sect Martial Competition Room? Suyu headed there immediately. The sparring room was a place for inner disciples to spar with one another. The area was not big, and it could only accommodate 1,000 people. It was far from the grandeur of the outer sanctum's 10,000 people arena. However, the sparring room had all the necessary facilities. Not only did it provide a stage for sparring, but it also provided many cultivation tools. It was far from what the outer sanctum could compare to. After all, this place was prepared for outstanding inner court disciples. When Su Yu arrived, most of the people were already there. Among them were Song Qingshan, several fifth-level holy kings who were jealous of him in the Golden Bell Hall, and Mo Wu. As if she had felt Su Yu's gaze, Mo Wu's beautiful eyes glanced at Su Yu before she looked away expressionlessly. Could it be that she was also participating in the assessment of the abyss of Wudong? Thinking back to what Wu Qingzhou had said, that the 4 quotas had already been predetermined by the elders and disciples, the corner of his mouth twitched. One of the predetermined quotas was actually Mo Wu. Soon, when all the competitors had arrived, 2 old men walked in. One of them was the 3rd elder, whom he had met before, and the other was an unfamiliar old man. 4th elder. In order to select qualified disciples, he, who was guarding the abyss of Wudong, specially rushed back? An excited voice could be faintly heard. 4th elder? Su Yu secretly sized him up. He was about 60 years old, with a square head and big ears, serious in speech and manner. Although he was old, his back was ramrod straight, unmoving like a mountain, dignified and solemn. Since everyone is here, let us begin the assessment. The 4th elder looked around and indifferently said. Since the 3rd elder already knew about the Empire of Darkness killing the disciples of the Abyss of Wudong, it was reasonable for him to assist the 4th elder in selecting suitable disciples to be stationed in the Abyss of Wudong. The first round of assessment is a competition of movement techniques. Su Yu raised his eyebrows. Wasn't the quota to be determined through a competition? Looking at the crowd again, he was also surprised. The Abyss of Wudong is filled with danger. If there is an emergency, movement techniques are the foundation for survival. Therefore, the first round of assessment is movement techniques. The 4th elder said solemnly. Method of assessment. Everyone flies 1 round around the inner sanctum meteorite. The first 50 who arrive can enter the next round. The rest will be eliminated. The inner sanctum was surrounded by 17 meteorites. It was the largest meteorite with a radius of 10 miles. With the speed of a 4th-level Holy King, it would take about 10 minutes. A 5th-level Holy King would need half a cup of tea's time. There was 1 6th-level Holy King, 42 5th-level Holy Kings, and 57 4th-level Holy Kings. It was obvious that all the 4th-level Holy Kings would be eliminated. Among the 4th-level Holy Kings, only those with outstanding movement techniques could advance to the next round of challenge. The time limit is 10 minutes. Now begin. Following the 4th elder's order, 100 people flew out in unison, using their movement techniques with all their might as they hurried on their way. Su Yu spread his spirit energy wings and flew high up in the sky, preparing to change into the icy divine wings. Whoosh, a gust of wind blew, pushing Su Yu to one side. Caught off guard, he nearly stumbled and fell. Frowning, he looked over. It was Song Qingshan and a few 5th-level Holy Kings with ill intentions. They were intentionally using the frightening spirit energy of a 5th-level Holy King to push Su Yu to one side. Isn't this the Su Yu who could kill a 5th-level Holy King? For someone as strong as you to not get first place, you must be feeling wronged. A 5th-level Holy King pursed his lips and mocked. Do you want us to move aside? Otherwise, if we leave you behind, that hidden expert of yours will find trouble with us. Su Yu turned a deaf ear to him, maintaining his spirit energy wings and flying at a moderate speed, following closely behind the group of 4th-level Holy Kings. Song Qingshan looked down from above, glancing at Su Yu and mocking, "Let's fly later. A strong martial artist who can kill a 5th-level Holy King, it's better for us to obediently follow behind him." The surrounding 5th-level holy kings had mocking looks on their faces, standing calmly with their arms crossed. Their eyes were filled with mockery. Later, when they easily overtook Su Yu, his expression would be very interesting. Without the second elder's protection, what would a mere 4th-level holy king like Su Yu amount to? Estimating that Su Yu had already flown a few hundred meters, Song Qingshan's lips curled into a mocking smile. Circulating the spirit energy behind him, he suddenly flapped his wings. Whoosh! A remnant shadow cut through the sky, closing the distance at a shocking speed. The rest of the 5th-level holy kings also had a playful look on their faces as they began to chase after Su Yu. However, just as they were about to overtake Su Yu one by one, something happened that caught them off guard. Su Yu, who was neither fast nor slow, suddenly retracted his spirit energy wings. A pair of icy wings suddenly appeared on his back. They were vivid and lifelike, shaped like a swan feather. Layers of icy energy flowed, bringing with it a strong gust of wind. Icy divine wings had been cultivated to stage 1 top class. The first form of the icy divine wings had already been cultivated to its peak. At that moment, his speed far exceeded those of the same level, only below that of a 5th-level holy king, and the difference was not that great. After changing to the icy divine wings, Su Yu's speed had increased dramatically. With the power of light and shadow, he suddenly cut through the sky, leaving behind a series of remnant shadows. Shuttling through the 4th-level holy kings, he had overtaken all of them. Ah, so fast! Isn't that Su Yu who is only at 4th-level lower tier? What movement technique! So shocking? He's almost as fast as a 5th-level holy king. A group of 4th-level holy kings who were pushed away by the strong wind exclaimed. Song Qingshan's mocking expression froze. He could not believe the scene in front of him. The speed of Su Yu's movement technique was not much weaker than his. In the blink of an eye, Su Yu had already disappeared from their field of vision. Not good. Song Qingshan's face alternated between green and red. He clenched his teeth and gave chase with all his might. The expressions of the rest of the 5th-level holy kings also froze, giving chase with all their might. At this moment, everyone felt their faces burning. They had initially wanted to see Su Yu's good intentions, so they had intentionally waited for him to fly a certain distance before slowly overtaking him. Who would have thought that Su Yu had hidden such a shocking movement technique? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A group of people quickly circled the inner sanctum in pursuit. The more they chased, the uglier Song Qingshan's expression became. Su Yu's movement technique was only slightly weaker than his. As a result, they were unable to close the distance of a few hundred meters. Finally, after circling one round, they returned to the competition room. The 4th elder and the 3rd elder stood at the entrance of the competition room, registering the names one by one. 1 6th-level holy king and 35 5th-level holy kings have returned. The remaining 7 5th-level holy kings. Their movement techniques are a little lacking. The 3rd elder secretly frowned. The 4th elder's expression was solemn. There's no hurry, they should be the next batch of returnees, no one can be faster than them. Whoosh! Before he could finish his sentence, a thin and weak figure flew in first. Not only the 3rd elder, but the 4th elder was also stunned. Whoosh, whoosh! At this moment, the 7 5th-level holy kings finally caught up, panting. The 3rd elder's eyes were filled with surprise, looking Su Yu up and down, feeling that he was a stranger. He was faster than a 5th-level holy king. His movement technique was truly extraordinary. The 4th elder was slightly surprised, then retracted his gaze and recorded Su Yu's ranking. When his gaze swept past Song Qingshan and the rest, he lightly snorted. Not even comparable to a 4th-level holy king. You have been pampered for too long. Reflect on yourself. Song Qingshan and the rest were flushed, unable to lift their heads. Especially the 5th-level holy kings who had returned first. Among them, Many had noticed that Song Qingshan and the rest had intentionally schemed against Su Yu. At this moment, they were whispering to each other, sneering. Haha, not only did they want to humiliate Su Yu, they even got ridiculed by Su Yu. Isn't this like shooting yourself in the foot? But speaking of which, Su Yu is really surprising. Even his movement technique, being close to that of a 5th-level Holy King, is unimaginable. Song Qingshan and the rest clenched their fists, infuriated by Su Yu. Gradually, the crowd all flew back. The first 50 people to return qualified. The remaining 50 people left dejectedly. Alright, the 50 of you will proceed to the next round of assessment. This round is a test of your eyesight. The abyss of Wudong is pitch black all year round. You will not be able to see your fingers in front of you. You will need extremely strong eyesight, so this round is a test of your eyesight. According to the rules of the assessment, I will find a way to turn the competition room into a pitch-black state and place 50 pieces of black paper in the room. Your task is to infuse your eyes with spirit energy, achieve the ability to see in the dark, and find the black paper. This round, only 25 people will remain. Furthermore, each piece of black paper that you find will be counted as 1 point. The points can be accumulated for the next round of assessment. In the end, the 5 people who can remain will be determined by the points. So, you must be serious. The more black paper you find, the more hope you have of passing. After the 4th elder finished, he and the 3rd elder looked at each other. They found black cloth and covered the entire competition room with it. In an instant, the room was completely dark. Not to mention the surrounding figures, it was difficult to even see a finger. At this moment, infusing spirit energy into both eyes would allow one to blur vision. The ability to see depended on the strength of one's spirit energy and the precision of one's control of spirit energy. It varied from person to person. Usually, people with a solid foundation would be able to use their eyesight more exquisitely. Su Yu stood with his arms crossed. Deep within his pupils, a pair of crystalline pupils emitted a dim light. Chapter 154. To Su Yu, the pitch-black environment was as bright as day. Whoosh! Suddenly, a faint sound entered his ears. Su Yu glanced over. It was the 4th elder. In the darkness, he had quietly stuffed a piece of black paper to Mo Wu and the other 3 disciples. The 4th elder pretended that no one had noticed. He did not know that Su Yu had seen everything. Was this what it meant to be internally decided? Su Yu felt somewhat helpless. After that, the 4th elder threw out a large piece of black paper and scattered it in every corner of the competition room. The assessment begins. As soon as the order was given, the 50 people immediately channeled their spiritual energy into their eyes to vaguely discern the situation in the darkness. While they were still trying their best to adjust their vision, Su Yu had already moved like a bolt of lightning to all the corners of the competition room. Every time he paused, he would grab a piece of black paper. In the blink of an eye, Su Yu had obtained more than 5 pieces of black paper. You actually dare to snatch it. Right at this moment, a light snort floated over from the darkness. A wisp of faintly discernible terrifying aura slowly spread out. This person was the only 6th-level Holy King, Tang Yishuan. Just as he adjusted his vision, he discovered that a black shadow had snatched the piece of black paper from his feet. He was dissatisfied. However, he did not have the time to argue with Su Yu. In this stage of the test, the black paper would determine the total score. The more paper he snatched, the higher his chances of winning. Schwa, as he moved quickly, Mo Wu also began to snatch. She glanced at Su Yu in surprise. She had already noticed that Su Yu had been snatching the black paper from the very beginning. The other Holy Kings were still working hard to revolve their spiritual energy, but Su Yu treated the darkness as if it did not exist. His eyesight is that good? He doesn't even need to use his spiritual energy? Mo Wu was slightly surprised. The 3 of them plundered without restraint. At this time, everyone had just adjusted their vision and adapted to the dark environment. By the time they started searching for the black paper, more than half of it had been plundered. Some people were happy while others were sad. A moment later, the black veil outside the house was removed. The assessment was over. Those who don't get the black paper will be eliminated. The fourth elder announced expressionlessly. Walala, in an instant, out of the 50 people, 30 left and only 20 remained. The original plan was to eliminate 25 people, but now 30 people were eliminated in one go, which somewhat exceeded the expectations of the fourth elder and the third elder. What's going on? The third elder was slightly puzzled. The fourth elder's eyes flashed. Take out your black papers and calculate your scores. Moments later. Song Qingshan 1 card 1 point. Tang Yishuan 6 cards 6 points. Mo Wu 8 cards 8 points. The three of them alone occupied 15 slots. It was no wonder that so many people were eliminated. However, in the next moment, third elder and fourth elder's expressions froze. Su Yu. 19. Looking at the thick stack of black paper in Su Yu's hands, everyone was shocked. Mo Wu was astonished. Even if he could see things in the dark, he shouldn't be this powerful. Could it be that his vision, other than being able to see things in the dark, was also extremely sharp and could easily observe every corner? He alone had more black paper than almost everyone else combined. After a while, the fourth elder announced, Su Yu 19 points. Next is the final test. A competition of comprehensive strength. To put it simply, a duel. Was it finally time for the competition? The abyss of Wudong is quite dangerous. If you don't have enough strength, it'll be futile even if you go. Among the 20 of you, you'll compete with each other. For every person you defeat, you'll get 5 points. In the end, only the 5 people with the highest points will be left. These 5 people will be the members of the abyss of Wudong. The fourth elder solemnly announced. Everyone's blood was boiling. The final battle had finally begun. Apart from Mo Wu and the other 3 disciples, Tang Yishuan, the transcendent 6th-level Holy King, was their only target to defeat. Su Yu clenched his fist. The only way to save Xiener was in front of him. Tang Yishuan was the biggest obstacle in front of him. Before the duel begins, all of you can rest and prepare. You only have an hour. After the fourth elder said this, his gaze swept past Su Yu. You are Su Yu? About your performance just now, follow me, I have something to ask you. Su Yu was slightly stunned. Could it be that his performance just now was too unique and aroused suspicion? Song Qingshan felt the pressure and a hint of jealousy burned in his eyes. Senior Song, could it be that this kid's performance just now was not bad and he was lucky enough to be chosen by the fourth elder? You want to give the last spot to him? I also have this worry. After all, Su Yu has the second elder behind him. Song Qingshan's tiger eyes were filled with deep unwillingness and hatred. It's still early. Even if it's decided, he must have the ability to defeat us. Everyone present was a 5th-level Holy King. If Su Yu could not defeat them, he would not even be able to continue. Outside the house, in a sparsely populated area, the fourth elder smiled. Su Yu, your performance was not bad. I intend to recommend you to enter the abyss of Wudong. Su Yu was shocked, but he quickly recovered. Thank you for your kindness, fourth elder. May I know what instructions you have for me? Intelligence beyond your age, it's surprising. The fourth elder exclaimed from the bottom of his heart. Su Yu looked like he was only about 15 years old, but he was extremely intelligent and quick to react. He thought he would have to waste a lot of words, but Su Yu understood immediately. I am relieved that you understand. I will give you a spot to enter the abyss of Wudong. In exchange, I hope you can secretly obtain a top-grade marrow-cleansing elixir for me. This matter needs to be kept secret. After you go to the abyss of Wudong, I will secretly give you some pointers. Su Yu's heart sank. What he wanted was the one and only top-grade marrow-cleansing elixir. This elixir was hard to come by, and Suyu might not have the chance to obtain it. There was only one emergency mission a year. Moreover, he could not take all the credit every time. The Xianyun contest was just around the corner. This top-grade marrow-cleansing elixir could be said to be the key elixir to increase Suyu's strength. But if he did not agree, first, his chances of winning the assessment were slim. Second, he would offend the fourth elder. Even if he entered the abyss of Wudong, he would be treated unfairly. Although the abyss of Wudong was about to be overseen by the third elder, the fourth elder still had the authority to deal with Suyu even if he was in the abyss of Wudong. The sudden choice put Suyu in a dilemma. There is no rush to answer now. Think about it. If you agree, just send me a signal. The fourth elder said warmly. He looked around vigilantly and returned expressionlessly. But as he left, his face suddenly turned gloomy. Suyu, who had thought that he had a 90% chance of success, actually had the intention to resist. Humph! You think you can rely on that ghost-faced woman? The fourth elder's face was gloomy. Suyu sighed in his heart. He could feel that the fourth elder's face was warm, but he was actually angry. If he did not agree, the consequences would be unpredictable. But the Xianyun contest was imminent. Xianer clenching his teeth, Suyu returned to the competition room. At that moment the competition began. The competition follows the arena rules. The winner has the right to challenge the next person. After 5 matches there will be a short break. After saying this, the fourth elder looked at Suyu with a profound gaze. The first arena defender, Ma Feiming. The fourth elder appointed an arena defender. Ma Feiming was about 23 years old, and was a 5th-level lower-tier Holy King. He had broken through half a month ago. Leaping onto the arena, Ma Feiming looked around. When his gaze landed on Song Qingshan, his eyes flashed and he immediately pointed at Song Qingshan. Senior Song, come up and fight. Senior Song, Ma Feiming still bears a grudge against you. The disciple beside Song Qingshan sneered. Once, when Ma Feiming was still at 4th-level peak, he had accompanied Song Qingshan on a mission and found a spiritual treasure in the mountains. In the end, Song Qingshan had taken it for himself. After handing it over to the faction, Song Qingshan had received many generous rewards and his cultivation level had improved. Ma Feiming had always held a grudge against Song Qingshan, but he could not find a chance to take revenge. Only today could he openly challenge Song Qingshan. Song Qingshan curled his lips. Jealousy? Is he worthy? What can a newly advanced 5th-level Holy King do to me? Swoosh! Leaping onto the arena, Song Qingshan stood with his arms crossed, staring coldly at Ma Feiming. Ma Feiming, you dare challenge me? Ma Feiming was a little fearful of the other party's gaze. After all, when he was still a 4th-level Holy King, Song Qingshan was already a veteran 5th-level Holy King. He had carried out countless dangerous missions and was famous, but thinking of the humiliation he had suffered, he harbored resentment. Song Qingshan, that day you pushed me too far. Don't blame me for not showing mercy. I, Ma Feiming, am no longer the same as before. You better take me seriously. You're quite confident. Let me see what you're capable of now. Song Qingshan put down his crossed arms, not letting his guard down. Ma Feiming let out a low grunt and immediately attacked. 7 stars illuminating the moon. Ma Feiming let out a low grunt, displaying a legacy-level cultivation technique. Its level had reached stage 1 upper class. Combined with a 5th-level Holy King cultivation level, its power was unfathomable. With each step, a remnant shadow appeared. After 7 steps, 7 remnant shadows appeared one after another. What made people serious was that the 7 remnant shadows were extremely solid. They were shadows that were deliberately created. Every afterimage contained a considerable amount of power. Destroy. After 7 steps, Ma Feiming closed in on him and let out a low grunt. Swoosh, a shocking scene appeared. It was clearly 7 remnant shadows, but at that moment it was as if they were real. They surrounded Song Qingshan from 7 directions. 7 steps, 7 stars, and 7 remnant shadows surrounded Song Qingshan like stars surrounding the moon. This was the 7 stars illuminating the moon. Rumble, the 7 remnant shadows attacked at the same time. Their attacks were so dense that it was impossible to defend against them. However, Song Qingshan's face was calm. As the 7 remnant shadows attacked, Song Qingshan's lips curled into a faint smile, and he casually extended a finger. Barren Mountain Fingerprint. It was clearly an ordinary finger, but it was as if the mountains and rivers were destroyed. A terrifying deathly stillness surrounded the tip of his finger. Gray air currents flowed, faintly having the power to devour vitality. With one finger, it was as if all living creatures would be devoured. The 3rd elder nodded slightly. Not bad. The remnant of the Barren Mountain Fingerprint has been cultivated to Stage 1 top class. He is not far from Stage 2. The 4th elder nodded lightly. He is indeed extraordinary. Those who do not have a strong physique, even if they do not die, their vitality will be devoured by the gray air currents and they will faint. Mo Wu and the rest nodded secretly. Among the 5th level lower tier holy kings, Song Qingshan was indeed one of the best. Rumble, with a sweep of his finger, the gray air currents rolled in all directions. Poochie, Poochie. The 7 afterimages were actually destroyed with a sound. At the same time, Ma Feiming's real body was severely injured. With a scream, he was sent flying and smashed below the arena, almost fainting. Shock and unwillingness filled his eyes. After working so hard for so long, he still could not defeat Song Qingshan. Retracting his finger, Song Qingshan looked down and said disdainfully, "Go back to your mother's womb and train for a few years. Otherwise, you will always be defeated by me." You! Ma Feiming was furious, but his skills were inferior and he could only leave in humiliation. Then, Song Qingshan's gaze turned cold and fixed on Suyu. The corners of his mouth cracked into a terrifying smile. "Suyu, it's your turn. Let me witness the demeanor of you killing a 5th level holy king." Everyone's gaze shot over, landing on the only 4th level holy king, Suyu. Several 5th level holy kings were mocking him. It's his turn? I wonder if that expert will suddenly appear and defeat Song Qingshan. Is he finally going to show his true colors? Interesting, let's see how Senior Song will defeat him. Haha. That day, there was clearly an expert secretly helping him, but he waited for his junior to die before coming out to take advantage of the situation. Such a person should have met his end long ago. I hope Senior Song will not show mercy. Feeling the piercing gazes, Su Yu's expression was calm as he stepped into the arena. Chapter 155. Song Qingshan stood with his arms crossed, his expression leisurely. Please let me broaden my horizons. However, just as he finished his sentence, he stopped abruptly. His leisurely expression gradually disappeared and was replaced with surprise. Creak! A ball of light gathered at Su Yu's fingertip. The deep green and light blue fused, forming a ball of gentle blue and green light. The faint light floated. Looking at it, it was not light, but a flame the size of a thumb. No, it was an ice flame. An ice flame formed from the fusion of green and blue. Although weak, it released a deadly chill that made one's scalp numb. Crack! The sound of ice condensing spread throughout the arena. With Su Yu at the center, the cold froze everything. The green arena was instantly covered in ice. Unable to withstand the extreme cold, the arena, which had not cracked after so many battles, actually began to crack densely. The 4th elder's eyes revealed a bewildered expression. This is... The 3rd elder, who had seen Su Yu fight, was deeply surprised. Glazed ice flame, he has cultivated it to Stage 1 upper class. What? The difficulty and power of this glazed ice flame is said to be the most powerful legacy, Yet he has cultivated it to stage 1 upper class? For this scroll, a person with a high level of perception would need at least 10 years to comprehend stage 1 lower class, and more than 20 years to comprehend stage 1 upper class. He has only been in the sect for a few months, yet he can comprehend stage 1 upper class? Does this level of perception really belong to a human? Mo Wu's pretty eyes were filled with deep doubt. Su Yu's perception was so terrifying? The smiles of the 5th-level holy kings who were waiting for Su Yu to be taught a lesson froze. That terrifying cold chi made them shudder with fear even though they were below the arena. What kind of ice flame was it to have such terrifying power? On the arena, 10 meters away, Song Qingshan's body was coated with a thin layer of cold mist, gradually turning into ice. His leisurely crossed arms had long been unknowingly put down, concentrating on circulating spirit energy to expel the cold. Just the residual cold energy emitted was already so terrifying if that ice flame were to hit him. Song Qingshan's expression changed like never before, a sliver of the illusion of death clouding his heart. A bad feeling welled up in his heart. At that moment, he was 50% sure that the person who killed the snow lion was Su Yu himself. From the beginning to the end, no one had helped Su Yu. This was the result of his own hard work. He and those 5th-level holy kings were merely jealous and envious, making malicious conjectures and slandering him. However, even if his heart was shaken, Song Qingshan had no way out. Moreover, the flames were too weak. Although their auras were terrifying, their actual power might not be that great. Deliberately mystifying things. Song Qingshan kept his strange expression and remained calm in the face of danger. Barren mountain fingerprint. With a low roar, Song Qingshan's fingers churned with gray air. The hidden and sinister energy that devoured life caused one's heart to palpitate. Ma Feiming, who was also a 5th-level holy king, was defeated by this move. Whoosh! Song Qingshan took the initiative to attack, moving as fast as lightning. He covered a distance of 20 feet with a single step. The distance of 10 meters was covered in the blink of an eye. A strong gust of wind, mixed with gray air currents, blew up Su Yu's damaged clothes. His silver hair fluttered, sweeping across that handsome and calm face. A pair of eyes that were as tranquil as autumn water, without a single ripple. It was only when the gray finger attacked him that Su Yu took a step forward. Glazed ice flame, Su Yu said calmly. The weak ice flame on his fingertip was like a candle flickering in the wind, about to be extinguished. But the moment the two fingers came into contact, creak! The weak ice flame that was clearly the size of a thumb instantly exploded 100 times larger. Like a spark, it suddenly became the size of a house. It was sudden and violent, powerful and terrifying. It contained an endless amount of cold energy, like a volcano that had been suppressed for a long time, finally erupting. Crack, crack, the endless cold energy descended, freezing everything in the surroundings. The 5th-level holy kings who were closer to the arena suddenly changed their expressions and quickly retreated. Those who hesitated for a moment were covered in ice, almost frozen on the spot. The 3rd elder and the 4th elder could not help but remind everyone, retreat. Walala! The crowd was like a tide, retreating one after another, staring in bewilderment at the volcanic eruption of cold energy. Not only the arena, but the entire competition room had fallen into a world of ice and snow. A thick layer of white ice descended upon the competition room. Ice spikes hung from the roof, the ground was covered in a thick layer of ice, the seats turned into ice sculptures, and the martial arts tools turned into ice. The shocking cold energy caused the entire place to turn into an ice sculpture in an instant. Even taking a breath would make one feel unbearably cold. And the source of all this was the shocking cold energy. The 6 zhang tall burning ice flame rumbled and rolled. The bluish-green color was magnificent and dreamy, releasing the beauty that belonged to ice. Su Yu stood within the 60-foot ice flame, as if he was the supreme ruler of all ice in the world. In front of him, an ice sculpture maintained an attacking state. His gaze, expression, and posture were all frozen. Even the gray air current was frozen. It was as if he had been frozen in time and space. Su Yu slowly lowered his finger. He did not feel much of a sense of accomplishment for easily killing Song Qingshan with one finger. That day inside the snow lion's body, Su Yu had crazily absorbed a large amount of the snow lion's icy blue energy, finally pushing the glazed ice flame to stage 1 upper class. The power of the most powerful legacy-level cultivation technique was enough for Su Yu to control the power to kill a 5th-level Holy King. Even someone as strong as Li Xiaowei had decisively escaped, showing his fear of this cultivation technique. Calmly looking at the frozen Song Qingshan, Su Yu kicked him down. Crack, the ice shattered. Song Qingshan trembled all over, his face turning green. His entire body was stiff as he lay on the ground, looking at Su Yu in fear. He had been defeated in one move. No, he had almost been killed in one move. If this had been a life-and-death battle, he would have been easily killed by Su Yu. Su Yu had obtained a series of merits, not because of the help of the second elder, but because he himself had the power to kill a 5th-level Holy King. Calmly glancing at him, Su Yu shook his head slightly. This is the ability that you are so proud of, the ability to bully others? How disappointing. Song Qingshan's face turned red, feeling humiliated. But in front of Su Yu, the fear of being killed with a flick of his finger made him unable to refute. He lowered his head and left in a hurry. The 4th elder's eyes were filled with deep shock. The glazed ice flame is so powerful? In terms of power, it has already surpassed a normal Stage 1 top-class legacy level, and is infinitely close to Stage 2. This matter needs to be reported to the faction master. The power of the glazed ice flame may have been underestimated. Its power is beyond imagination. The 3rd elder's eyes were burning. Everyone in the faction knew of the existence of the glazed ice flame, but no one was willing to spend decades to cultivate a remnant of the manual. Today, Su Yu had revealed its terrifying power for the first time, shocking the elders' knowledge and causing them to pay unprecedented attention to this cultivation technique. On the arena, it was Su Yu's turn to guard the arena. There had already been 2 battles. Su Yu could still challenge 3 people. Su Yu ignored the shocked gazes of the crowd, raised his hand and pointed at a 5th-level lower-tier Holy King. This person was the 5th-level Holy King who had slandered Su Yu and deliberately waited for his disciple to die, and came out to take advantage of the situation. Since it was a challenge, then naturally, he would be the first to be challenged. You come up. The body of the 5th-level Holy King that was pointed at trembled, and he swallowed hard. Among the 5th-level lower-tier Holy Kings, Song Qingshan, who was at the top, had been defeated, let alone them? But even if they were afraid, they could only go up to the arena. Su. Junior Su, I am Pu Nan. This is a duel. I hope that you will restrain yourselves to avoid harming the harmony. Bracing himself, the 5th-level Holy King said with some fear. Pu Nan's face was slightly flushed. Once upon a time, in his eyes, Su Yu was a person who could not withstand a single blow. At this moment, he had to put down his pride and beg Su Yu to be merciful. Sure, Su Yu said indifferently. These words made Pu Nan feel slightly relieved. Thank you. Pu Nan cupped his fists and then solemnly waited. Meteor kick. Pu Nan growled and took the lead to attack. With long strides, his speed was extremely fast. People could only see an afterimage and could not distinguish where the real body was. At the same time, Pu Nan was surrounded by faint starlight, making it even more difficult to distinguish the real body. In an instant, Pu Nan's attack arrived. Boom! The shadow of the leg attacked, and he was officially fighting with Su Yu. Glazed ice flame. However, Su Yu calmly pointed out a weak ice flame, and indeed, it did not erupt. It was just lightly pointed at the sole of Pu Nan's foot. Crack! But even so, Pu Nan's whole body was stiff, his whole body icy cold. The attack of the leg was actually frozen on the spot. Seeing that he was about to stumble and fall, Su Yu reached out and grabbed Pu Nan's calf. "Thank you, junior brother Su." Pu Nan was grateful that Su Yu was really merciful. However, as soon as his voice fell, he noticed that something was wrong. Su Yu grabbed his calf and swung him into the air. It was as if Su Yu was holding a stick and swinging it in his hand. "Junior brother Su, what are you doing?" Pu Nan was horrified in midair. However, Su Yu did not answer. With a flip of his wrist, he grabbed Pu Nan's calf and slammed it into the ground. Boom, puff, Pu Nan's forehead was full of blood, several of his teeth were knocked out, and his internal organs were shaken. Blood wrapped around his broken teeth and sprayed out together. The severe pain stimulated Pu Nan, making him very ashamed and angry. He turned his head and shouted, "You!" However, as soon as his voice fell, his whole body was once again swung by Su Yu and then slammed into the bluestone floor. Then another blow. Then another blow. Below the arena, everyone was stunned. Su Yu was like a dead dog, swinging Pu Nan in a circle in the air, and then slamming him into the ground. Round after round, until Pu Nan was covered in blood and completely passed out. At this time, Su Yu stopped and threw him out of the arena like a dead dog. Bang! Like a dead dog, the unconscious Pu Nan made everyone suck in a cold breath. What a cruel heart! People need to be responsible for what they say. Using a dead fellow disciple to fabricate slanderous words to attack others, they should be severely punished. Su Yu said coldly. Then, Su Yu's eyes swept over and fell on the second fifth-level Holy King. "You! Come up!" Su Yu pointed from afar. This person had mocked Su Yu and revealed his true colors. At this moment, Su Yu had indeed revealed his true colors, but what he revealed was a cruel heart and an absolutely crushing, terrifying strength. I admit. The person who had been pointed at jumped onto the arena trembling with fear, cupped his hands and prepared to admit defeat. Although the quota for the Abyss of Wudong was extremely precious, Pu Nan was still lying on the ground like a dead dog. However, before he could finish his words, a gust of wind struck. Surprisingly, it was Su Yu approaching. Glazed ice flame. Then, Su Yu did the same and swung the stiff Pu Nan up. Bang, bang, bang. Everyone's expressions changed slightly. Su Yu once again swung the dead dog with ease. Once, twice, thrice. Until his whole body was covered in blood, he threw him like a dead dog beside Pu Nan. Compared to Pu Nan, Su Yu was merciful and did not make him faint. However, the one covered in blood was extremely angry and ashamed. "You! I have already admitted defeat, why did you still attack?" Su Yu asked. "Did you admit defeat? When? Why didn't I know?" Puff! He was so angry that he spat out another mouthful of blood. He had not finished speaking when Su Yu deliberately interrupted him. "If you don't say it clearly, how do I know you admit defeat?" Su Yu glanced at him and pointed to the last person among the three. "You! Come up!" I give up. I will not participate in the Abyss of Wudong assessment." The last person was pale and trembling. He screamed and fled on the spot. 5 rounds had passed and Su Yu had won 4 rounds in a row, earning 20 points. During the intermission, Su Yu was once again called out by the 4th elder to talk to him alone. "What do you think? There is only one chance." The 4th elder's eyes were bright. He had a strong obsession with the top-grade marrow cleansing elixir. Feeling the faint pressure, Su Yu's heart was heavy. If he did not give it, it would be difficult to pass the assessment. Even if he passed, he would be treated with difficulty. Taking a deep breath, Su Yu's eyes flashed. "I have thought about it." Chapter 156. I can't agree. Su Yu expressed his thoughts clearly and concisely. The 4th elder was slightly stunned. Su Yu actually refused. "Is my offer not sincere enough?" The 4th elder calmly asked. The abyss of Wudong had already decided on a spot. Although it was not as valuable as a top-grade marrow-cleansing elixir, it was not far off. Su Yu tactfully refused. Elder's offer is hard to obtain, but I cannot give you the elixir. Why? The fourth elder's eyes were cold, a sign that he was about to get angry. I urgently need a breakthrough. The top-grade marrow-cleansing elixir is very important to me. Su Yu helplessly sighed. He could not give up the top-grade marrow-cleansing elixir. More importantly, would the fourth elder honor his promise? The so-called consideration was not an accurate explanation. With such a response, the fourth elder's eyes gradually narrowed. After a while, he slowly nodded. Okay, I understand. You can go back. After Su Yu left, the fourth elder's face turned gloomy. You refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. At this time, the intermission was over. The competition continues. 5 rounds have passed. 5 more rounds for the arena defender. You go up. The fourth elder seemed to randomly pick a 5th-level upper-tier Holy King. But everyone knew that this person was Yang Fan, one of the 4 predetermined disciples. At the same time, he was the fourth elder's youngest disciple. Among the 4 predetermined disciples, he was the weakest. Therefore, the fourth elder picked him up in advance to give him the opportunity to challenge the remaining 5th-level lower-tier Holy Kings and win a few more rounds to get enough points. Among the people present, besides Su Yu, there were 4 other 5th-level lower-tier Holy Kings. It was enough for Yang Fan to get 5 consecutive points. At the same time, when there were only 10 people left, Yang Fan could successfully advance to the next round if he could defeat his opponent. Yang Fan had a medium build, messy hair, and a fierce aura. His eyes were bright and full of expression, occasionally bursting with strange waves of light. He stood tall in the arena, giving off a strong pressure. Zhang Liangli, come up! Yang Fan pointed to a female 5th-level lower-tier Holy King. Whoosh! The woman who had been called out was over 30 years old. She was beautiful and was a married woman. Her figure was well-proportioned and plump. She wore no makeup and her eyes were clear. She was a good woman. Looking at Yang Fan, Zhang Liangli slightly frowned, feeling both helpless and worried. Her looks were not bad, but her husband was only a 4th-level peak Holy King and had no one to rely on. In the faction, her beauty would inevitably be coveted. Among them, Yang Fan was the most extreme. Not only was he strong, he was also the second disciple of the fourth elder. His harassment had failed, so he secretly threatened her to give in. A month ago, her husband was challenged and seriously injured. Until now, he had been bedridden. It was Yang Fan who instigated him. If she still didn't fulfill his wish by accompanying him to bed and satisfying his desires, their days as husband and wife would probably be even more unbearable. Zhang Liangli's heart was struggling and she was already wavering. However, she was worried that after Yang Fan had tasted the sweetness once, he would crave her body. In the future, she would never be able to escape from his evil clutches and become his plaything. Now that Yang Fan had found an opportunity to challenge her, it was also an opportunity to knock her down a peg. Senior Sister Zhang, make your move. Yang Fan's expression was fierce, but his eyes were burning with a hint of heat and a sneer. Zhang Liangli heaved a sigh of relief and helplessly took action. It was fine if her strength was below Yang Fan's, but the fourth elder was watching from below the arena. How could she dare to strike a heavy blow? Heartless falling flower. Zhang Liangli's delicate body danced and spun like a falling flower. A pink mist enveloped her entire body, making her body hazy and graceful like a spring flower. However, within the pink mist, there was a power that could make people drowsy. Su Yu was surprised. Zhang Liangli's technique was closer to a support technique. If someone cooperated with her, she would be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort. Yang Fan's mouth twitched. Senior Sister Zhang's heartless falling flower is even more skillful. Rub, rub. Although he was mocking her, Yang Fan took a few steps back to avoid being hit. As a result, it was difficult for him to get close to Zhang Liangli. However, Yang Fan's mocking smile deepened. Unfortunately, I am destined to be your nemesis. Only Zhang Liangli could understand the meaning behind his words, that he would not give up until he had Zhang Liangli. At the same time, there was another meaning. That was the restraint of her technique. Swish, Yang Fan revolved his spirit energy and concentrated it in his eyes. In an instant, his eyes gradually changed from an ordinary pitch-black color to a crimson color. Layers of light flowed within his eyes, like a burning flame. Divine pupils of red flame. Yang Fan chuckled. Pop! 2 scarlet flames the size of an eye shot out from his eyes. The speed was comparable to a beam of light, difficult to capture. When Zhang Liangli realized that something was wrong, the 2 scarlet flames had already passed through the pink mist, attacking her chest and abdomen. With a painful groan, Zhang Liangli was sent flying by the 2 seemingly weak flames, vomiting blood. She smashed toward Su Yu, who was below the arena. Su Yu's expression was calm. He reached out and grabbed Zhang Liangli's body to prevent her from being hit. Feeling the power behind her, Zhang Liangli looked up and smiled sadly. Thank you, junior brother Su. After saying that, she hurriedly covered her chest and abdomen. Her sad smile was a little more crimson. The 2 flames slightly damaged 2 parts of her clothes, revealing a shocking snow-white skin. Her snow-white flesh could even be seen. Her flat abdomen did not have a trace of fat. Although it was only a glimpse, it clearly fell into Su Yu's eyes, making him slightly embarrassed. On the arena, Yang Fan saw the 2 of them touching intimately. His eyes turned cold. Kid, mind your own business. Zhang Liangli was his woman. He would not allow any other man to touch her. Su Yu fearlessly looked into his cold eyes. You can challenge me. A 5th-level upper-tier Holy King was beyond Su Yu's limits. However, a battle was inevitable. Even if he could not win, he had to fight to the death. Yang Fan smiled contemptuously. It will be your turn soon, no hurry. Enjoy your last moments. After saying that, Yang Fan looked at Zhang Liangli meaningfully. Zhang Liangli's delicate body trembled. Her eyes were filled with fear and helplessness. Her heart was shaken, on the verge of collapse. She had no choice. If she did not promise him and satisfy his desires, she and her husband would never be able to stand out in the faction. Similar situations like her husband's and her current tragic situation would be repeated frequently. Sensing the change in Zhang Liangli's mentality, Yang Fan withdrew his gaze in satisfaction. He then immediately challenged the next 5th-level lower-tier Holy King, but not Su Yu. Moreover, the next 3 battles were all against 5th-level lower-tier Holy Kings. Until the 5th battle, Yang Fan would rather choose a 5th-level upper-tier Holy King than Su Yu. Su Yu did not think that Yang Fan was thinking of him and helping him enter the top 10. If there were no accidents, Yang Fan was saving the weakest Su Yu for last to ensure that the last battle was foolproof. After all, if he were to be defeated at that moment, there would still be room for maneuver. With the 4th Elder's prestige, he could temporarily change the rules of the next round of assessment and allow him to return to the arena. However, if he were to be defeated in the last battle, he would no longer have a chance. Therefore, he would rather challenge someone of the same level at this moment to save Su Yu for last as a stepping stone. Using me as a stepping stone? Su Yu's eyes flashed coldly. The battle between Yang Fan and the 5th-level Holy King was brilliant. Even though he was facing a strong opponent of the same level as him, his pair of divine eyes of red flame was extremely troublesome. The 2 fought for 50 rounds before Yang Fan finally gained the upper hand and swept his opponent off the arena. The 4th Elder slightly nodded and lightly breathed a sigh of relief. Everything went according to plan. At this point, the 10 battles were over. After 10 people were eliminated, there were 10 people left. In the last round of the assessment, you will be paired with a one-on-one duel. The 5 winners will become members of the Abyss of Wudong. The 4th elder announced and temporarily added, at that time, the accumulated points can also be used as a reference. The crowd did not understand the last sentence. However, the assignment of opponents soon began and the 4th elder took the initiative to assign them. Su Yu noticed that the opponents assigned to the 4 predetermined disciples were not predetermined disciples, but disciples who were not predetermined disciples. Moreover, coincidentally, it was the kind of opponent that could easily win. The predetermined disciple of the 5th level peak Holy King versus a 5th level upper tier Holy King. Disciples like Mo Wu, who had surpassed the Holy King level, were matched against a 5th level peak Holy King. In order to ensure that everything was lost, the 4th elder did not assign Tang Yishuan, a 6th level Holy King, to the 4 predetermined disciples. Therefore, Tang Yishuan's opponent was also a disciple who was not predetermined. Without a doubt, Su Yu's opponent was indeed Yang Fan. When announcing the assignment of their opponents, the 4th elder intentionally or unintentionally glanced at Su Yu. His gaze was cold and there was a hint of revenge. Su Yu secretly shook his head. A dignified elder was actually so narrow-minded. It was fine if he shamelessly asked for the disciple's belongings, but when he failed to ask, he secretly harmed the disciple. His dark nature was disgusting. Among the higher-ups of the faction, the ugliest 2nd elder was the most admirable. Among the higher-ups of the faction that Su Yu had come into contact with, the faction master was sanctimonious, but in reality, he was timid. He was worried that he would offend the Great Elder and coldly watched as Su Yu was killed by the Great Elder. The 3rd elder used the reward to trick the disciple into accepting the dangerous 6-person group mission. Although he looked stern on the outside, he viewed the disciple's life as worthless. Not to mention the Great Elder, the 4th elder, and the 10th elder. The only trustworthy person in the faction was the 2nd elder. It was difficult for Su Yu to feel a sense of belonging in such a faction. At that moment, the arena match finally began. Tang Yishuan made his move first. His opponent was a 5th level upper tier Holy King. Standing on the arena, Tang Yishuan stood with his hands behind his back and coldly stared at his opponent. Do you want me to invite you down, or do you want to get down yourself? The opponent's 5th level upper tier Holy King let out a bitter laugh, sighed at his bad luck, and took the initiative to admit defeat. A 5th level upper tier Holy King was too far away from a 6th level Holy King. Following that was Mo Wu, one of the faction's 4 great core disciples, a strong martial artist of the Dragon Realm. Such a transcendent existence, yet the 5th level peak Holy King had no choice but to admit defeat without even stepping onto the arena. The other 2 internal disciples also quickly defeated their opponents with an absolute advantage. The seemingly long 5 matches ended in the blink of an eye at a jaw-dropping speed. Finally, there was only one match left. The internal disciple, Yang Fan, versus Su Yu. A 5th level upper tier Holy King and a 4th level lower tier Holy King. The difference between them was like the clouds and the mud. Whoosh, Yang Fan took the lead and leaped onto the arena. His fierce eyes contained a hint of mockery. Come up and fight, Su Yu. After saying that, his lips moved and he vaguely mouthed a few words. Outsiders did not notice, only Su Yu himself understood. That was 3 words, stepping stone. The 4th elder had prepared a stepping stone for his own disciple. With a cold gaze, Su Yu walked onto the arena with a calm expression. Stepping stone, huh? I hope you don't trip over it. Chapter 157. You still dare to resist the fate of a stepping stone? Yang Fan's sharp gaze pierced through Su Yu. Su Yu's gaze was calm. The bluish-green ice flame gathered at his fingertips. The extreme coldness spread across the entire arena. In an instant, the arena was filled with a cold mist. The mist was hazy, making it look like a fairyland on Earth. Glazed ice flame. Su Yu took the initiative to attack. The bluish-green ice flame on his fingertips was like a glimmer of light floating in the cold mist. In an instant it pierced through the void and silently attacked Yang Fan. As it neared Yang Fan, it suddenly erupted with a peerless ice flame. The 60-foot flame ignited the entire competition room. In an instant, the place was plunged into a world of ice. The billowing cold energy, with the power to freeze everything, rumbled toward Yang Fan. Even a fifth-level lower-tier Holy King could not resist and was completely frozen into an ice sculpture. However, within Yang Fan's fierce expression, there was a hint of mockery. "Didn't anyone tell you that fire can restrain cold energy?" Yang Fan laughed disdainfully, his eyes burning with scarlet flames. Divine pupils of red flame. With a low grunt, Yang Fan's eyes shot out two weak scarlet flames. It was clearly extremely weak, but wherever it passed, all the cold energy melted. It was as if the world of ice was being burned by a raging fire, completely collapsing. The cold mist that filled the sky was instantly swept away as the scarlet flames pierced through the void. The icicles shattered and splattered, turning into scalding water droplets, sprinkling in all directions. Su Yu's strongest attack could not withstand a single blow from the divine pupils of red flame. Moreover, as it charged toward Su Yu, its power was only slightly weakened. With one move, the difference in strength was obvious. Yang Fan had the absolute ability to crush Su Yu. There was almost no suspense in this battle for Yang Fan. Mo Wu sighed softly. In the end, he was not as determined as he was in the beginning to step onto the path of the Xianyun Temple. In the past, Su Yu had firmly and forcefully sworn in front of the second elder that no matter how difficult it was, he would definitely kill his way into the ancient Xianyun Temple and seize the Phoenix Blood Elixir. Now, he did not even have the qualifications to compete for a place in the temple. How could he save Xianer? Unsurprisingly, Su Yu was about to make the most humiliating choice in his life. Would he have to watch his beloved woman die in front of him, or allow his beloved woman to become the woman of the enemy? How similar was the fate of Su Yu's former teacher, Li Guang. The fourth elder let out a cold smile. Since Su Yu was unwilling to accept his request, he would become Yang Fan's stepping stone. The fifth-level Holy Kings who had been defeated felt deeply regretful. From the looks of it, Su Yu had no fate with the abyss of Wudong, let alone the Xianyun contest. However, everyone's mood was different. Only Su Yu's eyes were calm and clear. Even when the two scarlet flames attacked him, he did not panic at all. Su Yu's calm eyes reflected the two balls of scarlet flames that were getting clearer and clearer. Only when the flames got close to him did Su Yu move. However, it was only a slight movement of his index finger. Chila, chila. The sky full of divine ice threads, like a volcanic eruption, spewed out from the divine ice ring. Countless threads were densely packed and extremely agile, and they automatically wrapped around Su Yu's body. At the same time, they quickly condensed and weaved into an airtight layer. Looking closely, he was actually weaving a set of battle armor. Helmet, breastplate, leg armor. An entire set of armor was put on Su Yu's body. The battle armor was crystal clear, reflecting a cold light. From afar it looked like a carved crystal battle armor, beautiful beyond compare. However, within its beauty, it did not lose its dominance and power. The outer edges of the shoulder armor were curved upwards, shaped like two spikes. 9 flying dragons were carved on the chest, soaring into the sky. Rows upon rows of armor plates emitted an astonishing chill that could frighten one's heart. On top of the helmet, the words, "Divine Ice," were carved clearly. The weak Su Yu, with the support of the battle armor, was unprecedentedly tall and mighty. Standing in his original position, he was like a crystal god of war. At this moment, the two scarlet flames finally attacked. With the speed of lightning, they headed straight for Su Yu's face. Su Yu's eyes slowly opened, emitting a cold light through the crystal helmet. Divine Ice Battle Armor. Open. With a low shout, Su Yu's body suddenly erupted with bluish-green flames. The bluish-green ice flames, which were clearly only 60 feet tall before, had suddenly soared to a height of 70 feet. The palpitating chill was more than 30% stronger than before. The divine ice ring, the power of a divine artifact, had finally descended upon the world after the artifact control technique had reached stage 1 lower class. After countless years, the divine artifact of the divine ice ancient kingdom had once again descended upon the world. The divine ice battle armor increased the power of ice-based attacks, and at the same time, greatly increased its defense. This was part of the power of the divine ice ring as a divine artifact. Whoosh! Su Yu raised his palm, and the arm of the divine ice battle armor also rose in that instant. The two frightening scarlet flames were actually grabbed by Su Yu's right hand. His movements were light, as if he had done it lightly. But a scene that made everyone gasp appeared. Creak! The frightening scarlet flames were actually extinguished by his grasp. How terrifying was the temperature of the scarlet flames that had instantly melted the bluish-green flames. But it was extinguished by his grasp. Even a 5th-level upper-tier Holy King would not dare to grab it with his bare hands. Looking at Su Yu's palm, the divine ice battle armor was unharmed. It was as if the frightening scarlet flames had not caused him any harm. What a frightening defense! What a frightening chill! Everyone's eyes were filled with shock as they stared at the crystal battle armor on Su Yu's body in disbelief. The 3rd Elder and the 4th Elder exclaimed at the same time, "Divine artifact!" A blazing light flickered in the eyes of the 2 Supreme Elders. Even in the Lucian faction, there were not many divine artifacts. Only the Elders could possess them. But there were only 1 or 2 who could control divine artifacts. The reason for this was that the divine artifacts they obtained came from the ancient times and were items with owners. They, who came later, were unable to control them. But Su Yu, a mere outside sanctum disciple, actually possessed a divine artifact. Moreover, he could successfully control the divine artifact and display the power of the divine artifact. Could it be that the divine artifact in Su Yu's hands had already recognized him as its owner? If so, could they order Su Yu to give up his status as a master and recognize them as his? The 2 elders revealed their greed at the same time. Mo Wu was shocked. Divine artifact? He controls a divine artifact? A stone stirred up 1,000 ripples. Su Yu had actually successfully controlled a divine artifact. The degree of shock of this matter was no less than when he had wreaked havoc at the wedding. Opposite him, Yang Fan's expression was stiff and frozen, unable to believe the scene before him. It was actually a divine artifact. Effortlessly grabbing the divine artifact that extinguished Qi Yen. The figure wearing the crystal battle armor, standing calmly, actually gave Yang Fan a great deal of pressure at that moment. An oppressive feeling, as if a mountain was crashing down, assaulted him for the first time. After a long time, the shock on the scene gradually subsided. The 3rd Elder's breathing slightly froze, his old eyes staring at Su Yu's finger, bursting with a frightening light. At that moment, he did not care about the crowd present. Su Yu, no matter the outcome of this match, come with me after this, I have something to ask you. Su Yu. I also have something to ask you. The 4th Elder's eyes burned with greed. If he could control a divine artifact, his abilities would increase by a whole level? The 2 Elders actually coveted the divine ice ring in front of everyone. On the arena, Su Yu's expression was dull, indifferent as usual. Wait for me to finish my match. Chapter 158. Whoosh! Su Yu was engulfed in 70 feet of ice flames and donned the divine ice battle armor. He pushed off the ground and a cracking sound came from the limestone floor. At a glance, the bluestone slabs were smashed into pieces because of his excessive strength. Under the strong elastic force, Su Yu was like an arrow that had been released from a bow. Everyone could barely make out a blurry figure charging straight at Yang Fan. Yang Fan's face was unprecedentedly solemn and anxious. If he was careless, the one who became a stepping stone this time might be him. The arrow was knocked on the bowstring and had to be released. Yang Fan had no way out. Divine eyes of scarlet flame. Yang Fan growled. A layer of scarlet flames burned in his eyes again. Although they were only the size of his pupils, they contained an extremely high temperature. Whoosh, 2 flames shot out of his eyes and headed straight for Suyu. At that moment, Suyu had already flown close to him. The huge palm clenched into a fist. Under the high-speed impact, the fist force was wrapped in turbulent ice flames. Like a burning iron ball, it came crashing down. Pucci, the terrifying scarlet flames were immediately smashed by the iron ball, turning into sparks that splashed in all directions. Yang Fan's expression finally changed. He channeled all his spiritual energy into his right fist and hastily faced the enemy. I don't believe that I'll lose to you. Clenching his teeth, Yang Fan gathered dense spiritual energy into his fist, wrapped in a powerful force, and clashed. Crackle, with a muffled sound, the 2 fists collided. Rub, rub. Yang Fan let out a painful groan and staggered 3 steps back. There was a faint taste of blood in his throat. The spiritual chi in his right fist dissipated, leaving the bluish-green ice flame. Suyu, on the other hand, had not moved an inch. With a single punch, the difference in power was obvious. Suyu, think carefully about the situation. Yang Fan's heart gradually became flustered, as if he had suddenly fallen from a cliff into an endless abyss. He thought that Suyu was just a stepping stone, but the truth was that he was Suyu's stepping stone. Therefore, he secretly threatened that he had a master overseeing things. The situation has long been clear. Suyu's gaze was calm. My situation is that if I fight, I will die. If I don't fight, I will still die. If that's the case, I might as well fight. Perhaps even if he obtained the qualifications to enter the abyss of Wudong, it would still be difficult to save Xiener. However, if he couldn't get it, then there was no hope at all. Rather than that, he might as well go all out and fight. Even if it meant offending the 4th elder. Whoosh, once again, Suyu turned into an arrow that had left the bow and collided with Yang Fan in the form of the ice-armored god of war. I will fight you to the death. Yang Fan roared, unwilling to give up. He used all his skills to fight Suyu head-on. Boom. With his full strength, Yang Fan also erupted with absolute strength. At the same time, Suyu also suffered some light injuries. The more the 2 fought, the more courageous they became. For the last spot, they gave it their all. Boom. Pa, on the stage, only the sound of rain hitting the lotus pond could be heard. Their figures were blurry, and only 2 afterimages could be seen. Sometimes they separated, sometimes they collided, and sometimes they tangled with each other. After a few hours, a figure was finally sent flying backwards with a large amount of blood splattering out of his body. It was Yang Fan. His entire body was covered in ice shards, and his hair and eyebrows were covered in frost. Even his face was ashen white, with a tinge of coldness. He spat out a large amount of blood as he fell off the stage and crashed into the spectators' stands. The violent impact caused him to faint on the spot. Suyu, on the other hand, was also exhausted. He was panting slightly. Even the divine ice battle armor showed signs of instability. The armor was loose in many places. However, it was undeniable that Suyu had won. Even though it was a difficult victory. The 4th elder's eyes were blazing, and his expression was ugly. He had arranged for Suyu to be the last to be used as a stepping stone for his disciple. Who would have thought that Yang Fan would become the stepping stone instead? Under normal circumstances, Suyu's final opponent was likely to be one of the 4 predetermined disciples, or even the 6th-level Holy King, Tang Yishuan. At that time, Suyu would undoubtedly lose. It was his arrangement that gave Suyu the opportunity to step on his disciple. The thoroughly defeated Yang Fan had already lost the qualification to be in the top 5. The spot that he had prepared for his disciple was forcibly taken by Su Yu. Hiding the chill in the depths of his eyes, the fourth elder forced a smile. "Congratulations, you have passed the final assessment and successfully obtained the honor of being a garrison member of the Abyss of Wudong. You have 1 day to prepare and set off tomorrow." With that, he glanced at Su Yu. "Come with me, I have something to ask you about your performance." The third elder's eyes were blazing, and he stood side by side with the fourth elder. Unknowingly, the two of them had secretly reached a tacit understanding. The divine artifact, the divine ice ring, and the method to control it, would be obtained by the two of them first before deciding who would own it. Otherwise, if the news were to be leaked, they might not even have the chance to make a move. But at this moment, Mo Wu walked over with an expressionless face. She was indifferent and cold as usual. "Elders, Master has ordered us to return the divine artifact after the end of the contest. It is not advisable to delay any further. Farewell." With that, she extended her lily-white hand and grabbed Su Yu's hand, leaving the arena. The pupils of the third and fourth elders slightly shrank. Could Su Yu's divine artifact belong to that ugly lunatic? Strangely, the two of them did not question it, as if it was a matter of course for the second elder to possess a divine artifact. Halfway through the journey, they confirmed that no one was following them. Su Yu then withdrew his palm from Mo Wu's delicate and warm palm. "Thank you." Su Yu smiled. Her residual warmth still lingered in his palm. Sure enough, she was a person who was cold on the outside but warm on the inside. At crucial moments, she would always display a passion that did not match her appearance. Mo Wu stopped in her tracks and turned around. Her eyes did not waver as she calmly said, "I was only following Master's orders to take care of you. There is no need to thank me." Su Yu continued to smile. His heart was filled with gratitude. "Senior Sister Mo, 1 day I will repay you. If you have any wishes, I am willing to do my best to fulfill them." Su Yu valued favors and would never forget those who had helped him. "Repay a favor?" Mo Wu murmured. Her beautiful eyes looked toward the distant sky. Time and space were silent. Heaven and earth were far away. Mo Wu's eyes reflected a vast emptiness. In that instant, Su Yu felt a bit of loneliness from her. "My wish." Mo Wu lost her voice and lightly shook her head. "You cannot fulfill it. I will fulfill it myself. I will use everything in my life to fulfill it." Su Yu was slightly shaken. What was the wish of her life? What was the hidden wish in Mo Wu's heart? After returning to the courtyard with her, Su Yu immediately went into seclusion. The final battle just now was rather difficult. Although he had defeated Yang Fan, he had suffered a lot of injuries. However, Su Yu was pleasantly surprised to discover that the large amount of medicinal power that had settled in his body had begun to take effect under the condition that his blood was boiling. While nursing his injuries, Su Yu immediately activated Sai of Ice. He urged the medicinal power in his body to circulate within his flesh and blood, improving his physique and absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. The next morning, there were only a few hours left before they would depart for the Abyss of Wudong. Su Yu slowly opened his eyes and a ray of light burst forth. The aura of a 4th-level upper-tier Holy King was slowly released. Abundant spiritual energy surrounded his body. His injuries were all gone. His abilities had achieved a breakthrough. At the same time, he had a whole new understanding of his cultivation technique. Among the ice-based cultivation techniques, Sai of Ice, which amplified spiritual energy, was at Stage 1 top class. It was only a step away from the rumored Stage 2. Icy Divine Wings had long been at Stage 1 top class, and was only a short distance away from Stage 2. At that time, the Icy Divine Wings would break away from the current Flying Swan Wings form and enter the second form. At that time, what form would the Icy Divine Wings take? How shocking would its speed be? Glazed Ice Flame had 2 types of extreme ice flames. It had only broken through to Stage 1 top class and was extremely powerful. If it wanted to break through to the next stage, it would need to find a new ice flame to fuse with. Would its power increase explosively? Next was God Eye's Demon Moon. This secret soul attack technique only had stage 1. Suyu had only cultivated it to stage 1 lower class, and was still a step away from upper class. If he cultivated it to upper class, Suyu would be able to confuse powerful enemies who were not more than 3 levels above him. It would be extremely effective. Lastly was the remnant of the immortal level cultivation technique, with more than 100 words. Its profound meaning made it difficult for Suyu to break through the shackles. But Suyu believed that once he successfully comprehended the immortal level cultivation technique with more than 100 words, he would be able to unleash an extremely terrifying power. Seeing that there was only half a day left, Suyu still had a precious opportunity to enter the depository of scriptures. But after some thought, Suyu temporarily gave up. Firstly, there were no lightning-based cultivation techniques in the depository of scriptures that he wanted. Secondly, there were many cultivation techniques in his hand. It would not be wise to bite off more than he could chew. Forcefully choosing to cultivate would not be beneficial to his cultivation. He would decide on his abilities after returning from the abyss of Wudong. At this moment, a junior from the Li family brought a letter from Zhao Guang. A month ago, Zhao Guang had left the faction and lived in Li Guang's tomb. Suyu was moved to receive his letter. He opened it and read it, feeling comforted. Zhao Guang had already broken through to the level of Holy King. At this moment, he was peacefully accompanying Li Guang's tomb. Even though many people in the Li family were against his existence, they did not chase him away. It was said that the Li family master had tacitly agreed to it. Zhao Guang had 2 requests. First, for Suyu to erase his master's name from the Pillar of Shame. Second, for Suyu to clear his master's name and return him to the Li family tomb so his soul could rest in peace. Even without Zhao Guang's reminder, Suyu had not forgotten his vow to avenge him and clear his name. But Zhao Guang's last sentence stunned Suyu. Lastly, I would like to thank Junior Brother for sweeping Master's grave every 7 days and leaving me a middle-grade marrow-cleansing pill. I, Zhao Guangyong, will remember this kindness. However, I hope that the next time Junior Brother comes, you can do it openly. Why do you have to come at night? Wait a minute. Suyu's heart shook. He had sworn that if he did not take the heads of those 2 people, he would be too ashamed to come to Li Guang's tomb. He had spent the entire month in the Wulong snowfield. How could he travel thousands of miles to Li Guang's tomb? And leave Zhao Guang a precious medium-grade marrow-cleansing elixir? That person was definitely not Suyu. It was someone else. Could it be the Li family master? Only the Li family master would do such a thing. But how could the Li family so easily give Zhao Guang a medium-grade marrow-cleansing elixir? Furthermore, it was once every 7 days. Even Suyu had only managed to obtain a bottle of marrow-cleansing elixir after experiencing a month of life and death. The Li family would definitely not be so generous. But it was not Suyu, not the Li family. Who else would sweep Li Guang's tomb and secretly help his disciple cultivate? To be able to avoid the eyes and ears of the many experts of the Li family without Zhao Guang noticing, that person's abilities were no small matter. At the very least, he was definitely not weaker than the Li family master. But who was that person? Who was the mysterious tomb sweeper? Chapter 159. After thinking for a moment, Suyu could not figure it out. At that moment, it was finally time to depart. When he arrived at the courtyard, Mo Wu was already waiting outside. Her proud figure stood quietly in the courtyard. Under the warm sunlight, her classical figure was slender and elegant, as beautiful as a flower. "Let's go," Mo Wu said softly without turning her head. She took light steps, leading the way. It turned out that she had been waiting for Suyu. Suyu smiled as he followed. His eyes reflected her beautiful figure, waves of fragrance wafting into his nose. At the assembly point outside the sanctum, The other three were already there. The fourth elder secretly stared at Suyu, looking at his finger. The divine ice ring had already disappeared. The fourth elder sighed in disappointment. In the end, it was still taken back by the second elder. Suyu had exposed the divine artifact to the world, attracting covetous eyes. If the second elder did not take it back, Suyu would be in danger. But now, that sliver of hope had been extinguished. At that moment, 5 giant birds descended. They were the unique means of transportation of the Lucien faction. Back then, when they descended on Shinue Island, Suyu could only look up to them. But now they could be killed with a flick of a finger. Even though they were slightly smaller than the eagles heading to Shinue Island, their abilities were not much different. Suyu could not help but sigh at the huge difference in just half a year. The journey is long, hence we are using eagles. There are a total of 5 red eagles. The 5 of you will share 4 of them, the fourth elder calmly said, flying onto the largest eagle. The remaining 4 eagles were split among the 5 disciples. 2 of them were destined to squeeze onto the same eagle. Even though the eagle was not small, it was a little crowded for 2 people. Presumably, no one wanted to share it with others. Whoosh, Suyu reacted quickly. Without a second word, he headed toward the closest eagle and took the lead. But just as Suyu was about to fly onto one of the eagles, suddenly, a cold gust of wind came from behind him. Even though it did not contain spirit energy, the gust of wind from the palm contained a powerful cold current. Suyu was sent flying 3 meters to the side. Whoosh, a sound pierced through the air, piercing through the air. Looking over, the person who snatched it was Tang Yishuan, a 6th-level holy king. As for the other 3, they had already been decided on as disciples, so he did not dare to snatch them away. Only Suyu, like him, was someone who did not have any backing. If they didn't rob him, who else would they rob? Get lost! Tang Yishuan flicked his finger and a bolt of energy attacked Suyu. Suyu had no choice but to take a few steps back. Suyu clenched his fists, feeling slightly angry. He wanted to look for the rest of the eagles, but they were all occupied. He was left alone with nowhere to hide. The fourth elder's expression was calm. He turned a blind eye to this and said indifferently, "Prepare to depart." Pucci. The 5 eagles immediately flapped their wings and prepared to fly. Tang Yishuan's cold eyes swept past Suyu and he said indifferently, "You entered the abyss of Wudong by relying on luck. You are not fit to ride the same carriage as me, Tang Yishuan." After he finished speaking, he piloted the eagle and soared into the sky. The other eagles also left one after another. In the blink of an eye, the eagle disappeared. However, the black dancing eagle was still hovering in midair. On the back of the eagle, Mo Wu was meditating with her legs crossed. Her eyes were closed and her back was facing Suyu. At that moment, without turning her head, she said coldly, "Do you want me to invite you up?" Suyu smiled and flew up. "Thank you, Senior Mo." Mo Wu was cold and did not respond. She piloted the eagle and chased after them. Only when she caught up with Tang Yishuan's eagle did she slightly open her eyes. When she glanced at Tang Yishuan, she said indifferently, "Do you want me to help you teach him a lesson?" "No need. We men should solve our own problems. I will personally repay you for today's slap." Suyu looked at Tang Yishuan coldly and looked away expressionlessly. Mo Wu slowly closed her eyes and replied coldly, "Up to you." After she finished speaking, she focused on her cultivation and ignored Suyu's existence. Suyu was grateful and he also sat cross-legged to cultivate. However, the back of the eagle was small and it was easier for one person to cultivate. However, it was slightly crowded for 2 people. As Suyu sat cross-legged, his knees inevitably touched Mo Wu's thighs. The soft and hot sensation traveled from his knees to his heart. Coupled with the delicate fragrance, it made Suyu feel strange and awkward. Mo Wu, who had her eyes closed, could not help but open her eyes and stare coldly at Suyu. However, this place was narrow and she could only silently endure. In the Lucian faction, the faction master and a few elders gathered together. Other than the second elder, who was in seclusion, and the fourth elder, who was guarding the abyss of Wudong, the rest of the elders were present. The faction master and the rest sat around a round table. On the table were 4 pitch-black tokens, engraved with the word Empire. Looking at the 4 tokens, the higher-ups present had serious expressions and the atmosphere was tense. 3 of the tokens were found in the Wulong snowfield, and the last one was found in the ocean. The faction master frowned and sank into deep thought. Above the ocean, the silver-robed guards of the Empire of Darkness robbed the new disciples of the Lucian faction. At the Wulong snowfield, the silver-robed guards of the Empire of Darkness robbed the Lucian faction's treasures. What do you all think about this? The faction master asked in a low voice. The third elder said seriously, "In my opinion, it is time to inform the Alliance and inform them of this matter. The Empire of Darkness has already extended its tentacles into the Lucian faction. We have no way out." Everyone was nervous. The Empire of Darkness was a taboo existence in the Zhenlong continent. It was like a formless blade was placed on the necks of every faction. If they provoked it, they would be turned into ashes in an instant. What if the Empire of Darkness seeks revenge in advance? After all, we have already mistakenly killed 4 disciples of the Empire of Darkness. The one above the ocean was killed by an unknown person, so we can still justify it. But the 3 from the Wulong snowfield were killed by our faction's disciples. The 5th elder was worried. Hearing this, the entire place was silent. Finally, the faction master was silent for a moment, then sighed. If that day really comes, we can only give up on that disciple. 10 days later, they had already crossed the 100,000 mountains. The journey was millions of miles, more than 10 times larger than Xinyue Island. The vastness of the Zhenlong continent was an eye-opener for Su Yu. He just did not know if the Lucian faction was the only faction in the Zhenlong continent. Thinking back to the Empire of Darkness, Su Yu shook his head. There might be other factions besides the Lucian faction, but he did not know if the Lucian faction or the Empire of Darkness was stronger or weaker. Chirp. Following the cries of eagles, numerous eagles finally descended. They landed in a misty primordial forest. Ancient trees stood tall and majestic. The vicissitudes of time had changed the landscape of this place. No one could recognize the true state of this place 10,000 years ago. But there was one imprint that even time could not change. That was a palm print. If one were to look down from the 9th heaven, they would see a huge palm print that was hundreds of kilometers wide in the lush and dense primordial forest. Not even a blade of grass grew where the palm print was. Hence, it was easy to notice the unusually terrifying palm print. Su Yu's pupils shrank. The twilight mountains of Xinyue Island, the forbidden grounds of Fenghuang Valley, and the divine ice ancient kingdom in the ocean all had terrifying palm prints that could destroy them. But the palm print in front of him was even more terrifying. In terms of size, it was more than 10 times the size of the palm print he had seen before. Bolts of nameless energy had passed through the ages, remaining until now. The eagles trembled and let out mournful cries. They hovered high up in the sky, not daring to land. In the center of the palm print there was a crack that was 100 miles long. It was a ghastly sight. It was as if the terrifying palm print had split the earth apart. This crack was an abyss, the abyss of Wudong. At the bottom of the abyss was a remnant of civilization. Perhaps the owner of the civilization had sensed the changes in the world and hid underground in advance. But unfortunately, they still could not escape the fate of extinction. We have arrived at the abyss of Wudong. Fly and land. The 4th elder let out a low grunt and took the lead to land. A group of people followed closely behind. They pierced through the sky and landed in front of the crack. Looking from the sky, the abyss was only a crack the size of a hair. But standing in front of the crack, they realized that they could not see the other side of the abyss. It was at least 10 miles wide. Below the abyss, it was as dark as death. Some of the ferocious creatures in the darkness let out strange cries that made people panic. A strange aura of death assaulted them from below the abyss. Rest here for the night. Tomorrow morning, I will assign you to group. The fourth elder waved his hand and immediately went to check on the rest of the disciples. Mo Wu stood with her arms crossed in front of the abyss. Under the abyss of Wudong, there are remnants of an ancient spell. Hence, the spiritual energy is dense. If you have the chance, you must fight to join the excavation team. These words were naturally meant for Su Yu, who was behind her. Excavation team? Su Yu was puzzled. Could it be that the 100 members of the Abyss of Wudong are divided into many groups? Mo Wu indifferently nodded her sharp, snow-white chin. There are a total of 3 groups. The transportation group stealthily transports the excavated treasures back to the faction. You have already seen that the Wulong snowfield was almost completely destroyed. The logistics group provides food, tools, and so on. In short, they are the odd jobs. Lastly, the excavation group enters the abyss and excavates the ruins. The excavation group not only gets close to the ancient spell to absorb spiritual energy, but also has the opportunity to excavate treasures and hand them over to the faction to receive rich rewards. If they find a remnant of a legacy-level cultivation technique, they can enter the depository of scriptures once for free and receive a rare top-grade marrow cleansing elixir. If they find a complete legacy-level cultivation technique, they can enter the depository of scriptures 3 times for free and receive a divine elixir that only the elders can consume. As for an immortal-level cultivation technique, it has only been found once. That was with Han Ji. As you can see, he became the disciple of the Great Elder and became the 10th elder of the faction. Hence, since you have taken the risk to come here and join the transportation and logistics groups, it would be a waste of time. It is only meaningful to join the excavation group. Tomorrow you must fight for your groups. After her speech, Mo Wu walked to a tent. There was a large number of disciples stationed there. They were the members of the Abyss of Wudong. Excavation team? Su Yu stared at the abyss with deep anticipation. Wasn't his goal to enter the Abyss of Wudong? He had to join the excavation team. Su Yu took a light breath and headed to the tent. However, just as he arrived, he heard a fight. To be precise, it was a one-sided beating. Ah puff. Chapter 160. Su Yu's expression changed slightly. Without thinking, he grabbed the person who was flying backward to prevent him from falling into the abyss. After putting him down and taking a closer look, Su Yu was slightly surprised. Senior Brother Wu. This person was Wu Qingzhou. The team that was escorting the treasures from the Abyss of Wudong was completely wiped out. Only he managed to escape. It was also Wu Qingzhou who told Su Yu that the Abyss of Wudong was recruiting members and showed him a way out of his predicament. Su Yu was grateful. Before he could thank him, he had already rushed back to the Abyss of Wudong. He never thought that the next time they met, it would be when Wu Qingzhou was being beaten. Junior Brother Su? Go quickly. Don't get yourself into trouble. Wu Qingzhou gratefully turned back and was shocked to find it was Su Yu. Su Yu had actually successfully passed such a hopeless assessment and arrived at the Abyss of Wudong? But then his expression changed and he urged. Whoosh whoosh, at this moment, several figures flew out of the tent and hurried over. The leader was a rugged young man in red, with slanted eyes and slanted eyebrows. He looked fierce. His strength was not weak, reaching the level of a 5th-level upper-tier Holy King, similar to Yang Fan. Behind him, there were several 5th-level lower-tier Holy Kings. The 4 of them charged straight at Wu Qingzhou with a murderous aura. Who allowed you to pick him up? Put him down and get lost. The young man in red was quite fierce, his voice harsh. Su Yu let go of Wu Qingzhou's arm and calmly said, "This place is far from the faction, so the rules prohibiting private fighting are no longer in effect? Why, you want to stand up for me?" The young man in red was surprised and looked Su Yu up and down. He found Su Yu unfamiliar, but his fourth-level upper-tier cultivation made the young man in red sneer. With such strength, you have the nerve to stand up for injustice? Take care of yourself first. I'll count to 3, get lost immediately. 1. The young man in red coldly counted. Wu Qingzhou's expression changed slightly, struggling to block in front of Su Yu. While grateful, he quickly urged, "Junior brother Su, go quickly. This is the abyss of Wudong, the faction rules are lax. Don't provoke Lu Haosen because of me." Lax rules? That's for the best. Su Yu pushed Wu Qingzhou aside and looked over. "I'll also count to 3 for you, scram immediately." 1. Su Yu was very serious, and he said a number. This action made the fierce Lu Haosen slightly startled. In the abyss of Wudong, there were actually people with low cultivation who didn't know what was good for them? Suddenly, the 5th-level lower-tier Holy King beside Lu Haosen seemed to have realized something. He quietly whispered into Lu Haosen's ear, "Senior brother Lu, he looks unfamiliar. A new member that just joined today? I heard that practically all of them are disciples that the elders have secretly decided on." Lu Haosen's expression changed slightly. He was extremely fearful. Due to the death of 5 members, there was a rumor that the faction wanted to transfer 5 experts to replenish the members. There had long been a rumor in the abyss of Wudong. Moreover, they knew very early on that the members who came to the abyss of Wudong were the disciples of the elders who came to gain experience. Their strength was not only high, but they also had an illustrious status. How could they easily offend them? "So it's junior brother Su. This is a misunderstanding. It's all my fault." Lu Haosen rolled his eyes and immediately admitted defeat. How could he dare to offend an elder's disciple? "Scram," Su Yu said calmly. He naturally understood Lu Haosen's fear. Lu Haosen had mistaken Su Yu for an elder's disciple. Su Yu despised such a person who bullied the weak and feared the strong. "Yes, yes." Lu Haosen's forehead broke out in a cold sweat as he led the crowd away in a panic. Seeing this, Wu Qingzhou was not happy but worried. "Junior brother Su, you're in big trouble. Lu Haosen is ruthless and vengeful. He's not afraid of you at the moment, but he has misunderstood your identity. Once he finds out the truth, he'll definitely take revenge on you. It's me who got you into trouble." With a slight smile, Su Yu glanced at Lu Haosen and the others and shook his head slightly. "Let him be." After saying that, he asked for the reason. The reason was because of that escort mission. Among the team that was wiped out, one of them was a good friend of Lu Haosen. In the end, everyone died in battle, and only Wu Qingzhou escaped. Lu Haosen was furious and sought him out to vent his anger, which led to this scene. "Junior brother Su, you really came at the wrong time." After a moment of communication, Wu Qingzhou sighed softly. Su Yu raised his eyebrows. "Why is that?" Wu Qingzhou said, "Junior brother Su, you must have come here to join the excavation team, right? If you had come a month ago, junior brother Su might have had a chance to get some credit, but now..." Sigh. It turned out that the excavation under the abyss of Wudong had entered the final stage. After decades of excavation, the 100-mile abyss of Wudong, no matter how many ruins there were, could not withstand years of excavation. At this time, all the ruins that could be excavated had been cleared. A month ago, the last ruins were cleared, and the sensational artifact control technique and fragments of an immortal-level cultivation technique were found. Unfortunately, they were intercepted midway, and the 2 items fell into the hands of the Empire of Darkness. Now, there were no more ruins to excavate. It was impossible for Su Yu to get credit. Then what's the point of us coming here for the faction assessment? Su Yu was deeply disappointed. He had worked so hard to come here, only to receive such a situation? Wu Qingzhou sighed. Although the ruins have been excavated, there is still a forbidden ruin that has not been excavated. The faction dispatched powerful disciples here for that forbidden ruin. His eyebrows twitched. Su Yu was puzzled. Forbidden ruin? What's the difference between it and ordinary ruins? As you can see, the ordinary ruins have been completely cleaned up. The reason why there is a special forbidden area is because the forbidden ruins are filled with danger. There are many ferocious demonic beasts residing there, and there are also dangerous formations. Ordinary disciples who enter there will most likely die. Therefore, it has never been excavated. Su Yu pondered. If that's the case, why don't the elders personally take action? Isn't it to deal with this kind of dangerous situation by sitting here? Haha, if it was possible, the elders of the past would have taken action long ago. The Forbidden Ruins have a special spell that can forcefully transport strong fighters who are stronger than the third heaven of the dragon realm away, making it impossible for them to enter. Hence, none of the elders entered. Among the elders of the Lucian faction, the one with the lowest cultivation base was the youngest 10th elder, Han Ji, who was at Dragon Realm level 4. Even he couldn't enter it. Thus, a low-level Dragon Realm disciple like Mo Wu came. Firstly, it was to train them. Secondly, it was to borrow their strength to open the Forbidden Ruin. I see. So, there must be many undiscovered legacies hidden in the Forbidden Ruin? Su Yu's eyes flashed. Wu Qingzhou nodded. That's right. There was once a disciple who took the risk to enter and brought out an ancient martial practice stone. There were traces of wood and thunder-based cultivation techniques on it. According to the elders' speculation, legacy-level cultivation techniques could not have been able to preserve the traces for millions of years. It is highly likely to be an immortal-level cultivation technique. Thus, there could be an immortal-level cultivation technique in the Forbidden Ruin. An immortal-level cultivation technique? And it was thunder-based? Su Yu's heart was thumping wildly, his pupils dilating. His heart was filled with an uncontrollable desire. Thunder-based. A rare thunder-based. His purple star thunderbolt had long been cultivated to its limit. There was no new legacy-level cultivation technique to cultivate. If he could obtain that thunder-based immortal-level cultivation technique, Su Yu could not imagine how powerful an immortal-level thunder-based technique would be. If nothing unexpected happens, since the fourth elder brought back the faction's high-level disciples, he would definitely let them enter the Forbidden Ruin to investigate. Wu Qingzhou was a little envious. Su Yu's pupils were filled with excitement. If he could obtain an immortal-level thunder-based technique, Su Yu's chances of entering the ancient Xianyun temple would be greater. If there really was such a technique, he had to get it. The next morning, after a day of rest, Su Yu was full of energy. In the middle of the tent, a light shout entered everyone's ears. Disciples of the abyss of Wudong, gather. Whoosh, 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 many figures flew out of the tent. Su Yu blended into the crowd and arrived at the middle of the empty tent. Looking around, there were hundreds of disciples standing upright. Their abilities were uneven. The weakest were 4th-level lower-tier Holy Kings, while the strongest were 6th-level peak Holy Kings. Among them, the 6th-level Holy Kings were the core of the abyss of Wudong's excavation. They were responsible for safety and were indispensable. As for logistics and transportation, they were mainly handed over to the 4th-level Holy Kings. The 4th elder scanned the crowd. When his gaze swept past Su Yu, his eyes turned slightly cold. The basic excavation has been completed. Everyone's main task is to clean up the ruins and check for any loopholes, the 4th elder announced. The disciples of the Abyss of Wudong had no change in expression. A month ago, they had already known that the excavation had been completed. I need to form a new team to enter the remaining Forbidden Ruin. The list of members is as follows: Captain Mo Wu, Vice Captain Wei Kong, and Lan Ling. The ordinary members will be chosen from among you. Mo Wu was a strong martial artist of Dragon Realm Level 1 peak. Wei Kong was the 5th Elder's disciple, a strong martial artist of Dragon Realm Level 1 lower tier. Lan Ling was the 6th Elder's disciple, also a strong martial artist of Dragon Realm Level 1 lower tier. Mo Wu had the absolute ability to crush everyone. Hence, she was deserving of the title of captain. No one disagreed with her. Let's start selecting members. The fourth elder said, we need 10 6th-level Holy Kings to assist the 3 captains in clearing the danger. 25th-level Holy Kings will be responsible for the specific excavation work. Those who are willing to sign up can participate now. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Immediately, a large group of people joined. Among them, all 9 6th-level Holy Kings from the Abyss of Wudong participated. Tang Yishuan, who came from the faction, joined as well. There were exactly 10 people. As for the 5th-level Holy Kings, more than 40 people signed up. There were as many as 15 5th-level Peak Holy Kings, more than 25th-level upper-tier Holy Kings, and the rest were 5th-level lower-tier Holy Kings. No, there was still a 4th-level upper-tier Holy King. There were too many people who were responsible for the specific excavation work. The 4th elder frowned. All 15 5th-level Peak Holy Kings have passed. The remaining 5 spots will be filled according to the order of registration. Swoosh, without any hesitation, Su Yu moved extremely quickly. He immediately flew in front of the 4th elder and signed his name. So fast. Everyone immediately rushed forward to snatch the spots. Soon, the last 4 spots were snatched. The 4th elder glanced at Su Yu indifferently and frowned slightly. He ran fast. However, it was inconvenient for him to expel Su Yu in front of everyone. He could only acquiesce. The team is complete. Prepare to depart, however. At this moment, a red-clothed figure scuttled out from the crowd. He looked at Su Yu angrily. Elder, I can't accept this. How can a 4th-level kid occupy the spot that belongs to us 5th-level Holy Kings? After a night of asking around, Lu Haosen found out that Su Yu was not an elder's disciple. He was just an ordinary disciple. Thinking back to how he had admitted defeat in front of everyone, he felt humiliated. An obscure smile flashed past the 4th elder's lips. He slowly nodded. If your abilities can beat him, then you can replace him. Lu Haosen was slightly stunned. His cold eyes shot toward Su Yu like lightning. You took my spot. Get lost yourself, or do I have to invite you? Su Yu was a little helpless. He took a step forward and calmly said, You want to challenge me? Challenge? Do you think you are qualified to challenge me? Lu Haosen grinned, revealing a row of white teeth. Chapter 161. Lu Haosen was taken aback for a moment before he grinned and said, A quick battle? Indeed, to defeat trash like you, it's better to end the battle quickly. Whoosh, Lu Haosen made a bold move. Beneath the red robes, his muscles squirmed. Amidst the abundant spiritual energy, they gradually expanded. His not-so-sturdy body was like a human-shaped iron frame. His entire body was filled with lumpy muscles. Crackling sounds came from his body like beans being fried. It was a shocking change to his bones. His height had increased by half a head. Senior Brother Lu's 9 turns Golden Body Sutra has been cultivated to the 1st level of the full closure. Not only his muscles but also his bones have begun to change, and he has reached the 3rd turn. A junior brother looked envious. Haha, Junior Brother Lu is rough but meticulous. Although he looks arrogant on the outside, he is cautious on the inside. Even a lion would use its full strength to capture a rabbit. Junior Brother Lu understands this very well. All of you should learn from him. A 5th-level Peak Holy King stood with his arms crossed. His eyes were filled with admiration as he advised the surrounding disciples. Everyone agreed in unison. There were a lot of dangers in the Abyss of Wudong. Lu Haosen understood this point very well. Thus, out of habit, even if he looked down on Su Yu, he would never be careless. In the blink of an eye, Lu Haosen had transformed into a 2-meter-tall bronze giant. Terrifying blood energy filled his entire body and formed a thick blood membrane on the surface of his body. Not only could the blood membrane be converted into offensive power, but it could also weaken the enemy's attack. It was a combination of offense and defense. Who would have thought that Lu Haosen was actually a physique tempering expert? Although I don't know how you managed to sneak into the abyss of Wudong, it's a pity that you met me the moment you arrived. Lu Haosen took a step forward and the ground shook slightly. Several fine cracks appeared on the rock beneath his feet. Now, let me beat you back to your original form. Lu Haosen growled as he bent his legs slightly, ready to launch himself. Bang! With a loud bang, the rock under his feet turned into a red blurry shadow and charged toward Su Yu. The seemingly long distance was actually shortened in a short moment. Lu Haosen's huge right fist condensed a ball of red flesh aura and punched out. Su Yu felt as if a huge rock had suddenly fallen from the top of his head during the mortal era. His body was under pressure and his breathing was labored. His heart was constricted. What a strong physical body! However, it was a pity that his opponent was Su Yu. Chila. The bluish-green flames shot up to a height of 60 feet. The terrifying coldness immediately caused the entire area to be filled with cold mist. Su Yu's gaze was calm as he looked at his opponent's frightening fist. His right fist was rapidly absorbing a large amount of the blue-green ice flame. Huchi, the bluish-green ice flame expanded rapidly, gathering on Su Yu's right fist, forming the shadow of a fist the size of a water vat. Right at this moment, the opponent's giant ram came crashing down. Su Yu tilted his body slightly and retracted his right fist. Like a flood dragon emerging from the sea, he suddenly punched out with extreme speed. Boom! The two fists collided, causing a violent explosion. The extreme coldness and the power of blood and qi collided, sending shockwaves everywhere. Rub, rub, rub. What followed was Lu Haosen's retreating figure. A trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. His entire right arm was burning with bluish-green ice flames and turned into icicles. A pained expression appeared on his face. His confidence and calmness instantly vanished. His eyes were filled with shock and fear. His all-out attack was actually far inferior to his opponent's? He understood very well that Su Yu had held back. Otherwise, the punch just now would not have only shaken his internal organs. The disciples of the abyss of Wudong gasped. Lu Haosen was defeated? I think we should be even more surprised. When did such a freak appear in the sect? Another senior disciple sucked in a breath of cold air. A 4th-level upper-tier Holy King defeated a 5th-level upper-tier Holy King. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, it would be hard to believe. The 4th elder slightly frowned. In just a few days, Su Yu had become even stronger. Without the help of a divine artifact, he could easily gain the upper hand. In the last battle with Yang Fan, even with the help of a divine artifact, he barely won. Su Yu retracted his fist and the 60 feet tall ice flame slowly returned to his body. He glanced at Lu Haosen indifferently and silently walked to the departing team. With an indifferent glance, Lu Haosen felt deeply humiliated and even more humiliated. This battle was indeed a quick battle, but it was Su Yu who easily won. Time is of the essence, let's go. The 4th elder indifferently ordered. Mo Wu took the lead and flew towards the abyss of Wudong. Use your spirit energy to circulate your eyes and maintain your vision. During the descent, Mo Wu immediately noticed the darkness of the abyss. It was so dark that she could not even see her own fingers. It was no wonder that the assessment had such a strong requirement for eyesight. Everyone circulated their spirit energy to adjust their vision and adapt to the darkness. Only Su Yu's eyes flickered with a crystalline light. In his eyes, all the darkness was as bright as day. Moreover, Su Yu could even see through the dark abyss and see the deep bottom. This abyss was extremely deep. It was more than 30 miles deep. If Su Yu's vision could not reach 50 miles away, it would have been difficult to explore the deep bottom. Everyone, pay attention to the formation. Mo Wu stared at the bottomless abyss and coldly ordered, The 3 captains will form a triangular formation and lead the way. The 10 6th-level Holy Kings will form an encirclement and protect the 25th-level Holy Kings. We will slowly advance in a triangular formation. Hearing this, the formation immediately changed. Su Yu and the rest of the 5th-level Holy Kings were quickly surrounded by 10 6th-level Holy Kings in the center. Once danger strikes, they can protect you at any time. Due to the angle, Tang Yixuan coincidentally appeared in Su Yu's direction. Seeing that it was Su Yu, Tang Yixuan curled his lips slightly and said in a harsh and mocking manner, "Aren't you quite powerful? Do you think it's my turn to protect you?" Su Yu's expression was calm. "If you have the time to mock others, you should pay attention to your surroundings. Be careful not to fail miserably." "Haha, you're still as arrogant as ever. I, Tang Yixuan, don't need you to remind me." However, just as Tang Yixuan finished his sentence, Mo Wu, who was leading the team, shouted, "Tang Yixuan, be careful!" Gigi. Subtle and hurried noises came from the cliff walls. The location of the noises came from the center of the troop, which happened to be the direction that Tang Yixuan was responsible for. Tang Yixuan's complexion changed, and he hurriedly looked over. It was a group of extremely powerful bats. The weakest among them was a 4th-level Peak Holy King, while the strongest was a 5th-level upper-tier Holy King. There were more than 100 of them. Tang Yixuan hastily responded to the sudden attack. The might of a 6th-level Holy King erupted like never before. Boom! Creak! As expected of a 6th-level Holy King, Tang Yixuan's abilities were unfathomable. Every time he attacked, he would kill a group of bats. When the group of bats attacked, they had already been killed by him. There were only 2 or 3 bats left, and they could not defend in time. 2 of them bypassed him, and charged into the group of 5th-level Holy Kings, and were killed on the spot. The last 5th-level upper-tier Holy King took the opportunity to bite Tang Yixuan. With a pathetic groan, Tang Yixuan's shoulder, which was bitten, felt a sharp pain that pierced his soul. In his rage, Tang Yixuan killed the last bat. However, the pain that penetrated deep into his soul dissipated very slowly, causing his face to scrunch up in pain. This is a demonic blood bat. You should be thankful that it is not poisonous and can only cause you pain. Mo Wu coldly hummed with a hint of anger. Mo Wu's phoenix eyes turned cold. Pay attention to your surroundings. If there is a next time, I will kill you without mercy. Obviously, Tang Yixuan's carelessness had almost caused the troop to suffer losses. Tang Yixuan was in pain and his heart trembled. He did not think that Mo Wu was joking. Tang Yixuan calmed himself down and carefully observed his surroundings. However, when his gaze swept past Su Yu and Mo Wu, a hidden hatred flashed past his eyes. With Tang Yixuan's experience, many of the 6th-level Holy Kings who were careless also tensed up. They looked at each other and felt a little strange. After thinking for a moment, they sent a message to Mo Wu. "Senior Mo, there is something that I feel I need to tell you." Mo Wu raised her eyebrows. "Yes, speak." The demonic blood bat usually only lives at the bottom of the abyss and rarely comes out. We have not even descended a 10th of the way down, and we have already encountered the demonic blood bat. This has never happened before, unless it is a very special situation. They had been stationed here all year round and knew about the demonic blood bat. Now that the demonic blood bat had appeared here, it attracted their attention. Mo Wu's beautiful eyes flashed with vigilance. Even if it was a coincidence, they had to guard against it. What kind of special situation? Mo Wu asked. The demonic blood bat leaving the bottom of the abyss has only happened once. 1 month ago, there was an earthquake at the bottom of the abyss. Many demonic blood bats were frightened and escaped from the abyss. 1 month ago, there was an earthquake here? They had never heard of it. Could it be that the 4th elder had not reported it to the faction? However, an earthquake did not seem to have any significance in reporting it. Keeping the suspicions in mind, Mo Wu said seriously, "Strengthen the defenses." Whoosh! the group of people passed through the darkness and encountered a few waves of demonic blood bats along the way. The strange incident made Mo Wu and the rest even more cautious. Finally, they had successfully descended to the bottom of the abyss. Stepping into the ruins, the group became even more cautious. Maintain the formation. Be on high alert. Dark demonic beasts other than the demonic blood bats will appear at the bottom of the cliff. They are very powerful, we must not be careless. Mo Wu gave a light shout and immediately led the group toward the forbidden ruins. Su Yu's bright eyes pierced through the darkness and scanned the bottom. Unfortunately, the bottom of the abyss was twisted and full of ruins. Su Yu's vision was obstructed. He could only observe the situation within 10 miles. All of a sudden, Su Yu was shocked to discover that a black figure had flashed past the ground 10 miles away from him. The figure was extremely fast, surpassing the speed of a holy king. A terrifying aura that made one's hair stand on end surrounded the figure. Su Yu's gaze quickly chased after the figure. The figure was sneakily searching above the ruins. After a moment, it seemed to have found something and entered the ruins. Thump, thump, Su Yu's heart jumped. Was that a human or a demonic beast? It was rumored that there were demonic beasts that looked like humans. Could it be a demonic beast unique to the abyss of Wudong? However, what made Su Yu gasp even more was, the figure seemed to have noticed Su Yu's gaze. From within the ruins, a head popped out. A pair of eyes strangely emitted 2 scarlet rays of light. It stared coldly at Su Yu from 10 miles away. Chapter 162. Whoosh, but a moment later, the red-eyed ghostly figure disappeared like a ghost. Su Yu was bewildered. What exactly was that ghostly figure? Why are you in a daze? If you want to die, don't drag others down with you. Tang Yishuan's nostrils flared as he urged Su Yu to stop. Retracting his gaze, Su Yu calmly glanced at him. Take care of yourself. Humph. Relying on the protection of a woman, how dare you be so insolent in front of me? Tang Yishuan's eyes were filled with disdain and mockery. Su Yu's gaze was calm as if he did not hear anything. His pair of crystalline eyes were always vigilantly looking ahead, especially at the place where the ghostly figure appeared. An hour later, in the darkness, the crowd carefully advanced 10 miles and arrived at the ruins. Su Yu swept his gaze but realized that the red-eyed ghostly figure had already disappeared. This is the last ruins that were developed. 2 treasures appeared here. Mo Wu stopped for a moment and softly muttered, "This is the place?" Su Yu secretly looked around. The ruins had all been cleared. The ancient collapsed buildings that were buried in the dust had also been completely excavated. But what Su Yu did not understand was why the red-eyed ghostly figure was sneaking around here. Could it be that there was something unknown in the ruins? The forbidden ruins are 30 miles away. Everyone, be careful. There are many powerful demonic beasts gathered around the forbidden grounds. It is impossible to guard against them. Make sure there are no casualties. Mo Wu's reminder caused everyone to feel nervous. But at this moment, a calm voice came from among the 5th-level holy kings. No need. There are no demonic beasts within 10 miles. You can speed up and move forward. Mo Wu's gaze turned cold. She turned around and looked. It was Su Yu. Hearing this, several 6th-level holy kings from the abyss of Wudong secretly frowned. Junior Su, right? Although I do not know why you are so sure, according to our past experience, 30 miles from here to the forbidden ruins is the main habitat of the demonic beast. 10 miles ahead, there is a group of dangerous bone wolf rats that live here all year round. It is impossible that there are no demonic beasts. An older 6th-level holy king spoke politely. But Tang Yishuan, who was at the side, did not have such a good attitude. He looked into the distance with a look of disdain. Why? Could it be that your eyesight is better than ours? Su Yu didn't pay any attention to them and calmly said, "This is just the result of my observation. It's up to you whether you believe me or not." Mo Wu looked at Su Yu deeply. If she did not remember wrongly, Suyu had seen the darkness as nothing during the vision assessment. Could it be that, apart from that, he also had the ability to see extremely far? However, the safety of the team was of utmost importance. Mo Wu could not easily trust him. Stay alert. Seeing that Mo Wu did not have the intention to reprimand Suyu, Tang Yixuan felt indignant. Humph! You really enjoy being protected by a woman? Suyu creased his brows. He had no intention of fighting with Tang Yixuan over anything. However, Tang Yixuan kept targeting him. Even he couldn't help but feel a trace of anger. No one will think you're mute if you don't speak. What a foul mouth! Sooner or later, I will teach you a lesson. Tang Yixuan looked at Mo Wu with fear and snorted coldly. The team advanced cautiously. After an hour, they had only slowly advanced 10 miles. Along the way, everyone was bewildered. They really didn't suffer any attacks. The 6th level Holy Kings, who were familiar with the area, had grave expressions. They exchanged glances with each other and secretly glanced at Suyu from time to time. Their faces were filled with disbelief. That's strange. It's fine if we didn't encounter any other demonic beasts. However, why didn't we see any bone wolf rats that live here all year round? There is indeed something strange. I came down here 3 days ago and there were many bone wolf rat. Why did they disappear into thin air today? What's even weirder is that Suyu can really see through a 10-mile radius in the dark. This information was fed back to Mo Wu. After pondering for a moment, Mo Wu turned to look at Suyu. Suyu, how is the landscape 10 miles in front? Are there any demonic beasts? Suyu looked up and shook his head. Within 10 miles there is a swamp. Within the swamp, there is a remnant tower known as the Demon Subduing Tower. As for demonic beasts, there isn't a single one here. Several 6th level Holy Kings were bewildered. 10 miles in front, there is indeed a swamp. Moreover, there is a broken Demon Subduing Tower. Can Suyu really see 10 miles in front? Mo Wu thought for a moment. Speed up. However, be wary of the surroundings. The crowd believed in Suyu's eyesight, but they could not completely trust him. After a cup of tea's time, the crowd's gazes toward Suyu changed. There are usually at least 10 types of demonic beasts gathered in the swamp. Now, all of them have disappeared? What's even stranger is that Suyu actually detected them. Mo Wu's eyes were bright and she was a little happy. What about the last 10 miles? The last 10 miles? Suyu looked up and his expression gradually turned serious. 3 miles away, there is a group of demonic beasts with abilities around 5th level Holy King attacking. 3 miles? Thump thump. The crowd could not see the situation 3 miles away clearly. However, they could hear rumbling sound. It was as if a group of large living creatures were charging toward them. The sound had initially been as soft as a mosquito. Now, it sounded like an army of thousands of men and horses. Even the ground began to tremble. Not good. It's the iron horse beasts near the forbidden grounds. There are many of them and they are strong. Everyone, maintain the formation. The expressions of the 6th level Holy Kings, who were familiar with the area, changed. Rumble, rumble, in the blink of an eye, a group of large iron horse beasts attacked. All of them were giant black horses that were 4 meters tall. They had sharp teeth and cruel eyes. They attacked like a flood. 6th level Holy Kings, attack! Mo Wu lightly shouted. Rumble, bang, crash, in an instant, the crowd and the group of beasts collided. Neighs and the sound of hooves could be heard. It was chaos. After a moment, the flood of iron horse beasts dissipated behind them, leaving behind a ground full of corpses. Although the 6th level Holy Kings were in good condition, they were somewhat exhausted. It's actually the iron horse beasts. They never leave the 5 miles radius of the forbidden grounds. Why are they all escaping now? The strangest thing is that they are not attacking us. Instead, they are leaving the forbidden ruins. Along the way, there were many strange occurrences. The crowd finally confirmed that there was a problem with the forbidden grounds. Hence, the blood demon bats uncharacteristically escaped from the abyss. The bone wolf rats that resided in the abyss all escape. Even the powerful iron horse beasts escaped in a panic. Mo Wu's expression was grave. Su Yu, pay attention to the situation in front at all times. Once there is a situation, report to me immediately. No one doubted Su Yu's judgment anymore. Even a few 6th-level holy kings looked at Su Yu with friendly gazes. In such an environment, Su Yu's eyes were extremely useful. Next, 4 miles ahead, there are 3 6th-level lower-tier holy king demonic beasts. We can go around them by going to the right. 4 miles ahead, there is a 6th-level upper-tier holy king demonic beast. It has already sensed us and is going around us. Su Yu looked up and briefly described the situation within the 10 miles. The crowd hurried along according to Su Yu's description. As expected, the journey was smooth. They finally arrived at their destination, the Forbidden Ruins. Unbelievable! The last 10 miles is known as the Path of Death. In the past, when we explored the Forbidden Ruins, there were bound to be brothers who died within these 10 miles. Today, we actually reached this place easily without encountering any demonic beasts along the way. A few 6th-level holy kings were in disbelief. Thank you, Junior Su Yu. If not for you, we would have inevitably suffered casualties. The few 6th-level holy kings residing in this place are quite troublesome. There are many brothers who have died in their hand. Su Yu smiled and shook his head. It was just a small effort. Why do you need to thank me? Tang Yishuan's expression was cold. Humph. The demonic beasts here have long retreated. Trying to play tricks to gain everyone's gratitude? Little tricks that can't be shown in public. The more Tang Yishuan looked at Su Yu, the more he disliked him. Is that so? Su Yu calmly looked back. 2 miles behind us, the 6th-level upper-tier Holy King demonic beast is still there. If you have the guts, you can go and take a look. With Tang Yishuan's abilities as a 6th-level lower-tier Holy King, if he were to be discovered by the upper-tier demonic beast, the probability of him coming back alive was extremely low. The corners of Tang Yishuan's mouth twitched. His eyes gradually narrowed as he stared at the darkness in the distance. His intuition told him that within the darkness, there was a terrifying existence. Who do you think you are? If you want me to go, I'll go. Tang Yishuan retracted his gaze and stared at Su Yu. At this moment, Mo Wu lightly grunted. Tang Yishuan, if you want to die, I can grant your wish. If not, shut your mouth. Hearing the reprimand, Tang Yishuan's neck shrank and he hurriedly retracted his glare at Su Yu. However, when he lowered his head, a deeper hatred flashed past his eyes. Trash who relies on women. You better pray that you do not meet me alone. Tang Yishuan coldly transmitted his voice to Su Yu, not bothering to hide his threat. Su Yu's gaze was calm. Only a cold glint flickered in the depths of his eyes. Very quickly, everyone arrived in front of the Forbidden Ruins. The so-called Forbidden Ruins was, in fact, a cave carved at the end of the abyss. The cave ran through the stone walls, winding and unfathomably deep. At the entrance of the cave, there was an ancient and dilapidated spell. Even after 10,000 years, it was still operating. A layer of pale yellow light screen was placed in front of the cave, sealing it completely. Everyone enter together. Do not get separated. Mo Wu took the lead and passed through the yellow light screen. Su Yu also stepped into the cave. When he passed through the light screen, he felt an obscure energy penetrating his body. This was the Forbidden Ruins, an ancient spell that could block people of Dragon Realm Level 3 and above from entering. Only disciples like them could pass through it easily. If it was an elder, he or she would be blocked outside. Russell, the group of people entered. This was the first time the Lucian faction was exploring the abyss of Wudong. It was completely unknown what dangers there were. Look, there is light inside. A person reminded nervously. Following his gaze, there was a faint brilliance flickering in the depths of the cave. Be careful. Do not be careless. Not only was Mo Wu not happy, she became even more vigilant as she walked forward step by step. The cave was filled with twists and turns. The group turned 3 times before they could finally see the brilliance clearly. It was a spell that was emitting a weak fluorescent light. After so many years, it was still operating. However, Mo Wu only took one look before her expression changed. Not good. Retreat quickly. It is a transportation spell. Once you are within the range of the light, the transportation will be activated. This spell led to an unpredictable and dangerous place. If they were transported and separated, the consequences were unimaginable. However, Mo Wu's warning was obviously too late. Whoosh! Su Yu felt a space energy wrap around him tightly. After that, he was sucked into the spell. A dizzying feeling assaulted him. When Su Yu fixed his gaze, he was in an unfamiliar place. Moreover, this place was extremely strange. The bottom of the abyss was pitch black. However, this place was bright and resplendent. Looking around, it was a vast and boundless space. The top of his head was embedded with a few bright pearls, emitting an extremely bright light. In the distance there were several green mountains. Moreover, what made Su Yu's heart palpitate was that under the green mountains, there was an extremely well-preserved ancient palace. The palace was filled with dust, permeating with the vicissitudes of time. Shreds of shocking spiritual energy spread out from within the mysterious palace. Su Yu's heart moved. He was about to fly into the palace. However, a snort could be heard from behind him. Looking back, Su Yu's expression suddenly turned grave. The void shook and a figure appeared. It was Tang Yishuan. When the spell was activated, Su Yu and Tang Yishuan were not far apart. Hence, they were transported to the same place. Tang Yishuan was at a loss at first. After that, he noticed Su Yu's presence and was slightly shocked. However, when he looked around and saw that there was only him and Su Yu in the big space, his expression gradually turned gloomy. Finally, his eyes did not conceal his murderous intent. Su Yu, you should really sigh that your life is not good enough. You actually met me alone. Tang Yishuan smiled coldly. Chapter 163. Can you tell me why you are always targeting me? Su Yu's heart sank. He found it hard to understand why Tang Yishuan kept targeting him even though he had no grudges with him. At this moment, his killing intent was inexplicably revealed. The conflict between them shouldn't have resulted in killing intent, right? You want to know? Ask yourself if you have killed someone you should not have killed. Tang Yishuan's expression was unusually cold. His 5 fingers turned into a claw and headed toward Su Yu's head with the speed of a goshawk. Someone who shouldn't be killed? Could it be that between Lu Guang and Li Hao, one of them was his friend? Did he find out about their strange deaths? Su Yu's heart turned grave as the wind from the claw approached. His deep purple right eye turned into a resplendent purple gem, releasing a purple glow that filled the sky. Seal of time. Tang Yishuan's body froze. Seizing the opportunity, Su Yu opened the icy divine wings on his back and activated the flying swan wings to its maximum. Su Yu glided a few hundred meters in an instant, leaving a glowing shadow in the air. At this moment, Tang Yishuan had just woken up. His soul was clear, but his mind was filled with shock. How is this possible? You? What kind of secret technique is that? What answered him was Su Yu's back as he flew into the sky. Humph! Tang Yishuan's eyes were ice-cold. All the spiritual energy of a 6th-level holy king gushed out from his back and condensed into a pair of giant wings. As he flapped his wings, a strong airflow swept out. Tang Yishuan left behind a blurred afterimage and disappeared from the sky. When he reappeared, he was already half the distance between them. Today, no one can save you. Su Yu's heart was solemn as he stepped into the ancient palace at the foot of the Green Mountain. Just as he was about to barge in, the sound of howling wind could be heard from behind him. It was Tang Yishuan chasing after him. The terrifying aura made it hard for Su Yu to breathe. The mountain-like pressure made Su Yu even more alarmed. The pressure of death descended upon him in an instant. Not good. Su Yu was shocked, and he quickly entered the ancient palace. Creak. The palace was too ancient, decaying and on the verge of collapse. The strong wind brought by the two of them caused the palace to emit a creaking sound. Su Yu was on the verge of collapsing. Huchi, Tang Yixuan sneered and barged in. Idiot! You still have a chance to escape outside, but here, you're just courting death. However, Tang Yixuan's voice stopped abruptly. Cold Sneer's face stiffened. Teleportation formation. At the center of the ancient palace, there was a slightly rotating formation. It was currently emitting mysterious symbols and a faint fluorescent light that gradually grew stronger. It was a teleportation array. Moreover, when the two of them barged in, they triggered the formation, causing the teleportation to begin. Shuar Su Yu stepped into the transportation portal with a calm look on his face. As soon as he arrived here, he had already used his super-long eyesight to observe the teleportation formation in the palace. Therefore, he was able to remain calm when facing Tang Yixuan. You! What a cunning brat! Since the teleportation was imminent, Tang Yixuan was not confident that he could kill him. It was even to the extent that he didn't have the time to attack and hastily leaped into the teleportation formation. Otherwise, if Su Yu teleported over first and destroyed the transportation portal on the other side, he would be trapped in this space forever. Whoosh! The glow of the formation grew brighter and brighter, illuminating the dark ancient palace. At this moment, Tang Yixuan suddenly caught a glimpse of something. He turned his head to look and his pupils shrank. Su Yu sensed that he was behaving strangely. When he turned his head to take a look, his expression changed abruptly. In the corner of the palace, there was a broken throne. The throne was emitting a shocking spiritual pressure. Although it was about to decay, it still emitted a shocking energy. It was as if an ordinary person were to sit on it, there would be nothing left of him. However, at this moment, there was a skeleton on the throne. Even after countless years, the skeleton was still like a white crystal, untainted by a speck of dust. On top of the skeleton, there was a destructive energy flowing. Su Yu merely took a look at it and his eyes felt a piercing pain. Even Tang Yixuan averted his gaze in fear. His face was contorted in pain. What kind of divine being was this skeleton when it was alive? Just looking at its skeleton caused the two of them to feel pain in their eyes? Even powerful martial artists like the Lucian faction master and the Great Elder were not as frightening. In their bewilderment, the two of them saw that the skeleton was actually holding a palm-sized jade box in its hands. The jade box was emerald green in color. However, as if it was a skeleton, there were no traces of time. However, what was different from the skeleton was that the jade box did not have the slightest bit of movement. It was as if it was a normal piece of jade. However, how could a normal piece of jade withstand the passage of time? How could it be left in the hands of the owner of this horrifying skeleton before he passed away? It was definitely a peerless treasure. A mysterious space, a lonely ancient palace, a skeleton that could not be destroyed after tens of thousands of years, and a peerless treasure that had been left behind until now. In an instant, Tang Yixuan and Su Yu's hearts were thumping wildly. Whoosh! Without thinking, Tang Yixuan broke away from the spell and snatched the shocking jade box. Even though his eyes were in pain and his face was contorted, he could not hide the intense glow in his eyes. His crazy greed caused Tang Yixuan to lose his rationality. Whoosh! However, just as Tang Yixuan was in front of the skeleton, the jade box was surrounded by a layer of space energy. Immediately after, it disappeared into thin air. Tang Yixuan grabbed empty air. When he looked back, Su Yu's right eye flashed with a wine-red color. As for the shocking jade box, it appeared in Su Yu's palm. Little bastard! Put it down! Tang Yixuan was furious. With a roar, he flew toward Su Yu. Su Yu's eyes flashed. He did not have time to take a closer look and stuffed the jade box into his robe. Immediately after, the spell activated and the transportation finally began. Creak. When Tang Yixuan attacked, the space energy of the spell enveloped him, and they were transported out of the place together. After they left, the sparkling skeleton that had existed for tens of thousands of years seemed to have lost its support. It gradually dimmed and finally turned into ashes. Whoosh! Su Yu felt the world spin. When he regained his footing, he unfolded his icy divine wings and flew away without hesitation. Rumble! After Tang Yixuan sensed Su Yu's aura, he attacked furiously without observing his surroundings. That shocking jade box must be hiding an earth-shattering secret. However, at that moment, Humph! Both of you are so lively. Mo Wu's cold voice pierced through the ears of the two of them. Tang Yixuan's body trembled. He was terrified and withdrew his palm. When he looked over, his expression changed slightly. In front of them, the disciples of the Abyss of Wudong who had been separated from them had all gathered there. Every one of them was staring at the two of them with an extremely astonished gaze. Junior Tang, what happened to both of you? Why did you only teleport now? A sixth-level Holy King was deeply astonished. Within the cave, all of them had been teleported here after the collective teleportation. However, when they counted the number of people, they strangely discovered that Su Yu and Tang Yixuan were missing. After waiting for a few minutes, the two of them finally arrived. They were clearly teleported together. Why were the two of them delayed for so long? Tang Yixuan's heart trembled. Could it be that only he and Su Yu were accidentally teleported into that mysterious space? As he was about to tell the truth, he changed his mind. If that was the case, the terrifying jade box in Su Yu's hands would definitely be known by others. At that time, it would belong to the faction. I also do not know. I only felt that the teleportation took a long time. Tang Yixuan shook his head and frowned. Mo Wu indifferently glanced at Tang Yixuan and Su Yu. What about you, Su Yu? Are you the same? What is going on with the two of you chasing and escaping? Su Yu wanted to say that Tang Yixuan wanted to kill him. However, he gave up in the end. Firstly, there was no evidence and he did not have any injuries on his body. Hence, no one would believe his words. Secondly, if he were to fall out with Tang Yixuan and force him into a corner, Tang Yixuan might expose the matter of the jade box. Hence, after thinking for some time, Su Yu was at a loss. I only felt that there was danger and started to escape. I have no idea what happened. Tang Yixuan's eyes flashed. He was also bewildered. I also felt that there was danger. Hence, I acted rashly. Could it be that I was hallucinating during the teleportation? Mo Wu's beautiful eyes coldly glanced at the two of them. It was obvious that they were hiding something. However, at that very moment she could not pursue the matter. It's good that you are back. Rest here for a while and prepare to depart. Su Yu secretly heaved a sigh of relief. His cold gaze quietly slid past Tang Yixuan. Su Yu wanted to monopolize the ancient jade box. Hence, it was not convenient to expose the fact that Tang Yixuan wanted to kill him. Tang Yixuan wanted to secretly snatch the ancient jade box. Hence, it was not convenient to expose the ancient jade box. Both of them had ulterior motives. Hence, they hid the ancient jade box at the same time. Withdrawing his gaze, Su Yu secretly looked forward to it. He did not know what was hidden within the ancient jade box. However, there were too many people and it was not convenient to look at it. After resting for a while, Su Yu finally had the time to observe the place. His expression changed slightly. There were a total of 99 bronze doors. Every bronze door represented a passageway. Mo Wu's expression turned serious. We have already tried it. Every passageway can only allow one person to enter. In other words, the 33 of us have to move separately. Her words caused the atmosphere of the place to become slightly heavy. Within the forbidden ruins there were unknown dangers. It was extremely dangerous to move alone. However, the passageway is not deep. Moreover, after passing through the passageway, everyone should be able to gather quickly. As long as we are careful, there might not be any danger, Mo pondered. Now, we will enter the passageway one by one. I will lead the way. The two vice-captains will be at the back. After her speech, Mo randomly chose a passageway and entered it. After that, everyone entered the passageway in succession. Su Yu's eyes flashed. He chose the one in the middle and entered it. As Mo had predicted, the passageway was not far. After passing through the passageway, Su Yu's expression changed slightly. In front of him was a valley filled with birds and flowers. Oh my God! There are so many universe minerals and earthly treasures. At that moment, a person beside Su Yu exclaimed. Looking to the side, there were 9 passageways leading into the valley. Among them, the weakest was a 5th-level upper-tier Holy King, while the strongest was a 5th-level peak Holy King. They had been outside for many years and knew a lot about universe minerals and earthly treasures. Was this a fairyland? Universe minerals and earthly treasures that were rarely seen in the outside world were everywhere. Medicinal ingredients for making low-grade marrow cleansing elixirs were everywhere. There were also many medicinal ingredients for making medium-grade marrow cleansing elixirs. Look, there are even top-grade medicinal ingredients for making top-grade marrow cleansing elixirs. One of them pointed to the middle of the valley in ecstasy. There were a few beautiful blue flowers the size of a palm. They were the main ingredients for making top-grade marrow cleansing elixirs. In the outside world, they were almost extinct. The faction could only gather less than 100 of them in a year. But there were 20 flowers in the middle of the valley. Look, there is a crystal-colored one. Someone with sharp eyes suddenly realized that among the 20 blue medicinal ingredients, there was a crystal-like flower swaying in the wind among the other blue flowers. It emitted a rich fragrance. From such a distance, one could feel his cultivation level wavering just by taking a deep breath. It is a crystal spiritual flower. It can cleanse the soul. It is a divine medicine for people with soul innate talent. It is comparable to a legendary top-grade marrow cleansing elixir. Crazy joy resounded in everyone's ears.